During a common visit to the mall, a millionaire is surprised by a little girl who stares into his eyes and asks, "Are you my father?" She is identical to his deceased daughter. Same look, same smile, even the birthmark on her arm. The presence of his ex-partner and the revelation of a hidden past transform the moment into an emotional whirlwind. Consumed between the pain of loss and impossible hope, he finds himself facing the deepest decision of his life. Rain tapped against the panoramic windows of Nathan Blackwood's penthouse office, mirroring the somber mood that had followed him like a shadow for the past 2 years. The Seattle skyline stretched before him, obscured by heavy clouds that made it impossible to tell where the city ended and the sky began. He stood motionless, watching raindrops race down the glass, a crystal tumbler of untouched bourbon in his hand. "Mr. Blackwood," his assistant's voice came through the intercom, "your 3 o'clock is here." Nathan closed his eyes briefly. Another meeting about another acquisition, another distraction that would ultimately fail to fill the void in his life. "Send them in," he replied, setting down the untouched drink and straightening his custom Tom Ford suit. The meeting proceeded. Like countless others before it, discussions about market valuations, growth projections, and synergies. Nathan nodded at appropriate intervals, asked incisive questions that demonstrated why Blackwood Enterprises had become a technology empire under his leadership. But his mind wasn't truly present. It hadn't been present for 2 years, not since Sophie. After the executives left, Nathan found himself standing at the window again. Sophie's face reflected back at him from the glass, her bright blue eyes, the dimple in her left cheek when she smiled, the strawberry blonde curls she'd inherited from her mother, his 6-year-old daughter who had vanished without a trace during what should have been a routine weekend with his ex-wife Jennifer and her new husband. The investigation had been exhaustive. Private investigators, rewards, media campaigns, nothing had yielded results. Sophie had simply disappeared. The last photo taken of her, wearing her favorite purple butterfly dress at a playground, was still the background on Nathan's phone. His marriage, already strained before the tragedy, had completely dissolved afterward. Jennifer had moved to Europe with her new husband, unable to bear the constant reminders of their missing daughter. Nathan had thrown himself into work, expanding his company aggressively, as if acquiring more wealth could somehow fill the Sophie-sized hole in his heart. "I've organized the files for tomorrow's board meeting," his assistant said, appearing at his office door. "And I took the liberty of canceling your dinner with the investors from Tokyo. You've been looking tired lately, Nathan." Elaine had been with him for 15 years. She was perhaps the only person who could address him by his first name and suggest he needed rest without risking termination. "Thank you, Elaine. I think I'll head home early." "Early? It's nearly 8 o'clock." Nathan glanced at his watch. Surprised. Time had become a strange, elastic thing since Sophie disappeared, sometimes stretching endlessly, sometimes vanishing in chunks he couldn't account for. "Will you be stopping by Butterfly tomorrow?" Elaine asked, referring to the children's foundation Nathan had established in Sophie's name. "The fundraiser is next week. I should check on the preparations." "Good. Rebecca called earlier. She wanted to know if you'd approved the new art therapy program." Nathan nodded. Rebecca Martinez had been his first hire when he established the Butterfly Foundation. She ran the day-to-day operations with a compassion and efficiency that had made the foundation one of the most respected children's charities in the Pacific Northwest. "Tell her I'll call tomorrow." Rain was still falling when Nathan left the building, nodding to the security guard as his driver opened the door to the waiting Tesla. Instead of heading to his Mercer Island mansion, Nathan surprised himself by instructing his driver to take him to the Pacific Place Mall. "Sir?" The driver looked confused. "The mall, I need to pick something up." The truth was, Nathan had no errand, but the thought of returning to his empty house was suddenly unbearable. The mall would be busy, noisy, full of life, the opposite of the silent mausoleum his home had become. Pacific Place was indeed crowded, even on a Tuesday evening. Nathan walked aimlessly, feeling oddly anonymous despite his recognizable face that occasionally appeared in business publications. No one, paid attention to the solitary man in the expensive suit, who seemed out of place among the shoppers. He found himself outside a toy store, staring at a display of stuffed animals. Sophie had collected them, her bed overflowing with plush creatures that Jennifer had complained took up too much space. Nathan had never complained. He would have bought her a zoo if it made her happy. "Do you like unicorns too?" The small voice startled him. Nathan looked down to find a little girl standing beside him, pointing at a rainbow unicorn in the display. For a moment his heart stopped. She had strawberry blonde curls cascading over her shoulders. Her eyes were the same bright blue as Sophie's. She even had the same dimple in her left cheek when she smiled up at him. Yes, Nathan managed to say, his voice strangely hoarse. "I like unicorns. I have 7 at home," the girl announced proudly. "My favorite is Sparkles, he's purple." Nathan crouched down, unable to tear his gaze from the child's face. She was wearing a green dress with dinosaurs on it, not Sophie's preferred butterflies, but the resemblance was uncanny. She even had the same small mole near her right eyebrow. "My name is Lily," the girl said, extending her small hand formally. "I'm 6.5. Nathan took her hand automatically. "I'm Nathan. Are you my daddy?" The question hit him like a physical blow. Nathan struggled to breathe, his vision blurring at the edges. "Lily, there you are," a woman's voice cut through his stunned silence. "What have I told you about wandering off?" Nathan stood slowly, his legs unsteady. The woman rushing toward them had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, casual in jeans and a blue sweater. As she got closer, recognition dawned on her face, quickly followed by shock. Nathan. It was Rebecca Martinez from the Butterfly Foundation. Rebecca. His voice sounded distant to his own ears. She reached them, putting a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. "I didn't expect, what are you doing here?" "Just walking around," Nathan said, unable to take his eyes off the child. "Is this your daughter?" Rebecca nodded, her expression a mixture of discomfort and resignation. "Yes, this is Lily." "She looks..." Nathan couldn't finish the sentence. "I know," Rebecca said quietly. "Are you friends?" Lily asked, looking between them with curiosity. "Mr. Blackwood is my boss," Rebecca explained. "He runs the foundation where Mommy works." "The butterfly place?" Lily asked. "With the pretty garden?" Nathan had never seen Lily at the foundation headquarters. Given the girl's striking resemblance to Sophie, he would have remembered. "Yes, the butterfly place," Rebecca confirmed. She turned to Nathan. "I usually don't bring her to work. I have a sitter, but why haven't I met her before?" Nathan asked, still staring at the child who could have been Sophie's twin. Rebecca shifted uncomfortably. "I thought it would be difficult for you." Understanding dawned slowly. Rebecca had deliberately kept Lily away from him, knowing the resemblance to Sophie would be painful. "How long have you worked for me?" Nathan asked. "Almost 2 years," Rebecca replied. "I started right after Sophie disappeared. Right after his world had shattered." "Mommy, can I get a new unicorn?" Lily tugged at Rebecca's sleeve, oblivious to the tension between the adults. "Not today, sweetheart. Remember, we talked about budget." Nathan noticed for the first time that Rebecca's clothes, while neat, were well worn. Her purse was scuffed at the corners. The foundation paid well, but he recalled she was a single mother. "Seattle wasn't cheap. I could get it for her," he offered before he could stop himself. Rebecca's expression hardened slightly. "That's very kind, but we're fine." "Please, I insist." Nathan was already reaching for his wallet. "Consider it. A bonus for your excellent work on the art therapy program." Rebecca hesitated, clearly torn between pride and her daughter's hopeful expression. "Please, Mommy." Lily bounced on her toes, her curls bouncing with her. "All right," Rebecca relented, "but just one, and we say thank you to Mr. Blackwood." Nathan accompanied them into the store, watching in fascination as Lily carefully evaluated each unicorn before selecting a blue one with silver stars on its flanks. "This is Comet," she informed Nathan solemnly as they waited at the register. "He's going to be best friends with Sparkles." Nathan nodded, equally solemn. "That's a big responsibility." I know. I take very good care of my friends. The cashier rang up the purchase, and Nathan handed over his credit card without looking. At the amount, Rebecca watched with a mixture of gratitude and wariness. They exited the store. Nathan found himself reluctant to part ways. Have you had dinner? There's a good restaurant upstairs. Rebecca checked her watch. Actually, we should be getting home. It's a school night for Lily. Of course, Nathan nodded, trying to hide his disappointment. Maybe another time. Thank you for the unicorn, Mr. Nathan, Lily said, hugging the stuffed toy. You're very welcome, Lily. Nathan couldn't resist asking one more question. How old did you say you are? 6.5, she replied proudly. My birthday is April 12th. Nathan froze. Sophie's birthday was April 12th. Rebecca must have noticed his reaction because she quickly took Lily's hand. We really should go. Thank you again, Nathan. Wait, Nathan called as they started to walk away. Rebecca, could I speak with you privately? Just for a moment. Rebecca hesitated, then nodded. Lily, can you sit on that bench right there? I can see you the whole time. Don't move, okay? Once Lily was settled with her new unicorn, Rebecca turned to Nathan, arms crossed defensively. I know what you're thinking, and the answer is no. You don't know what I'm thinking, Nathan countered. I do. You're wondering how she could look so much like Sophie, have the same birthday, be exactly the right age. You're wondering if somehow miraculously she is Sophie. Nathan said nothing because she was exactly right. She's not, Rebecca said firmly. Lily is my daughter. I have the birth certificate, the baby photos, everything. The resemblance is extraordinary, Nathan said quietly. I know. That's why I've kept her away from you. I didn't want to cause you more pain. Where's her father? Rebecca's expression hardened. Not in the picture and not your concern. I'd like to get to know her, Nathan said, surprising himself with the words, and you outside of work. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, Nathan said, a word that rarely passed his lips. Just dinner. That's all I'm asking. Rebecca looked over at Lily, who was having an animated conversation with her new stuffed unicorn. I'll think about it. She wrote her personal number on the back of a receipt and handed it to him. Call me tomorrow. I need to get her home now. Nathan watched them walk away, Lily turning once to wave at him with the unicorn's hoof. He waved back, a strange feeling blossoming in his chest, something like hope, something he hadn't felt in 2 years. As he rode the elevator down to the parking garage, Nathan pulled out his phone and looked at Sophie's picture. Then he saved Rebecca's number, his mind racing with questions he wasn't sure he wanted answered. His driver was waiting patiently in the Tesla. Home, sir? Yes, Nathan replied, but for the first time in a long while, he wasn't dreading the emptiness that awaited him there. Instead, his mind was filled with the image of a little girl with strawberry blonde curls and a blue unicorn named Comet. Tomorrow he would call Rebecca. Tomorrow, perhaps, he would begin to feel alive again. Nathan couldn't focus on the quarterly projections his CFO was presenting. His mind kept drifting to the little girl with the strawberry blonde curls and her mother's guarded eyes. He had called Rebecca that morning, half expecting her to ignore his invitation, but she had surprised him by agreeing to dinner that evening, with conditions. Just dinner at a family-friendly restaurant, and we'll meet you there, she had specified, her tone making it clear this wasn't a date or a social occasion. And Nathan, please don't get your hopes up about anything. Lily is not Sophie. He had agreed to her terms, suggesting a casual Italian place in Queen Anne that had a children's play area. Now, hours later, he was counting the minutes until he could leave the office. Mr. Blackwood, did you have any questions about the revenue forecast? His CFO's voice broke through his thoughts. No, it all looks satisfactory, Nathan replied, glancing at the presentation he had barely registered. Send me the full report and I'll review it tonight. As the executives filed out of the conference room, Elaine approached with a knowing look. You seem distracted today. Does it have anything to do with your mysterious errand at Pacific Place yesterday? Sometimes Nathan wondered if his assistant had surveillance on him. I ran into Rebecca Martinez. We're having dinner tonight. Elaine's eyebrows rose slightly. The foundation director? That's unexpected. It's not what you think. She has a daughter. Nathan hesitated, then added, a daughter who looks remarkably like Sophie. Elaine's expression shifted from surprise to concern. Nathan, I know what you're going to say. Rebecca already said it. She's not Sophie. Then why are you meeting them for dinner? Nathan didn't have a clear answer, not one he could articulate. I just want to get to know them better. Rebecca's done excellent work for the foundation. Elaine didn't look convinced, but she nodded. Just be careful with your heart, and hers. Nathan left the office early, something he rarely did. He arrived at the restaurant 20 minutes before the agreed time, securing a corner booth with a good view of the children's area. He ordered sparkling water and waited, fighting the urge to check his watch every 30 seconds. They arrived precisely on time. Rebecca had changed from her work clothes into a simple green dress that complemented her olive skin. Her dark hair was loose around her shoulders. Lily wore denim overalls over a purple shirt, her strawberry blonde curls held back with butterfly clips that made Nathan's heart constrict. "Mr. Nathan," Lily spotted him first, waving enthusiastically. "Look, I brought Comet." She held up the blue unicorn he had purchased the day before. "Hello, Lily." "Hello, Comet." Nathan stood as they approached. "Thank you for coming, Rebecca." Rebecca nodded, her expression cautious but not unfriendly. "Lily's been talking about unicorns all day. I think Comet was a hit." They settled into the booth, Lily between them. A server brought crayons and a children's menu that doubled as a coloring page. Lily immediately set to work, her little tongue poking out in concentration as she selected the perfect color for a cartoon pizza. "I hope this place is okay," Nathan said. "I haven't been to many family restaurants recently." "It's perfect," Rebecca assured him. "We don't eat out often, but when we do, Lily loves Italian." "Spaghetti is my favorite," Lily confirmed without looking up from her coloring. "I like to slurp the noodles." "Sophie loved spaghetti too," Nathan said quietly, then immediately regretted it when Rebecca's expression tightened. "Nathan, I know," he interrupted. "I'm sorry. It's just, the similarities are striking." Rebecca sighed. "Yes, they are. That's why I've kept Lily away from the foundation when you're there. I didn't think it would be good for either of you." "Where does she stay when you're at work?" "With a neighbor mostly, or at after-school programs. It's not ideal, but we make it work." They ordered spaghetti for Lily, as promised, eggplant parmesan for Rebecca, and lasagna for Nathan. As they waited for their food, Lily regaled Nathan with stories about school, her friends, and the elaborate adventures of her unicorn collection. And then, Princess Sparkles had to save the kingdom from the Thunder Dragon, she explained seriously. But she couldn't do it alone, so all the unicorns had to use their magic together. "That sounds very exciting," Nathan replied, equally serious. "What happened next?" As Lily launched into the next chapter of her unicorn saga, Nathan caught Rebecca watching him with an unreadable expression. "What?" he asked when Lily paused to take a sip of her chocolate milk. "Nothing," Rebecca said. "It's just, you're good with her." "I had practice," Nathan said simply. Their food arrived, momentarily pausing the conversation. Lily attacked her spaghetti with enthusiasm, managing to get sauce on her cheeks within seconds. Rebecca automatically reached over with a napkin to wipe it away, a mother's practiced gesture. "Tell me about yourself, Rebecca," Nathan said, realizing he knew very little about the woman who ran his foundation. "How did you end up in Seattle?" Rebecca twirled pasta around her fork thoughtfully. "I grew up in California, San Diego, went to UCLA for social work, moved up to Seattle about 7 years ago for a job with a non-profit that was later absorbed by a larger organization. I was between positions when I saw the posting for the Butterfly Foundation." "And Lily's father?" Nathan asked carefully. Rebecca's expression closed off slightly. "We were together for a while in California. It didn't work out. He's not involved in Lily's life." "Does he know about her?" "Yes, but he chose not to be a part of her life. It's for the best. Her tone made it clear she didn't want to elaborate further. Lily, who had been focused on creating the perfect spaghetti twirl on her fork, looked up. "Are you talking about my dad? Mommy says he lives far away and can't visit." Rebecca and Nathan exchanged a glance. "That's right, sweetheart," Rebecca said. "Eat your dinner before it gets cold." "Is that why I asked if you were my daddy yesterday?" Lily asked Nathan innocently. "Because I don't have one?" Nathan nearly choked on his water. Rebecca's cheeks flushed. "Lily, that wasn't a polite question," Rebecca admonished gently. "But you said my dad might come find us someday," Lily persisted, "and Mr. Nathan found us at the mall." The implications of that statement hung in the air. Nathan looked at Rebecca questioningly. "Lily, why don't you go play in the children's area for a few minutes?" Rebecca suggested. "I can see you from here and I'll call you when it's time for dessert." Once Lily had skipped off to the enclosed play area just a few yards from their table, Rebecca turned to Nathan with a sigh. "I should explain." "Please, do?" Nathan's tone was carefully neutral. "Lily's father, his name is Daniel. He wasn't a good person. He was charming at first, but he had problems. Gambling mainly, and a temper." Rebecca twisted her napkin in her hands. "I left him when I was 6 months pregnant. He found us once about a year later demanding money. I got a restraining order, and we moved to Seattle shortly after." "Has he tried to contact you since?" Rebecca hesitated. "There have been incidents. Nothing I could prove was him. Strange calls, a feeling of being watched. It's part of why I keep Lily so close." "And you told her he might find you someday?" Nathan couldn't keep the disapproval from his voice. "Not exactly. I told her that her father knows where we are, if he ever wants to be part of her life. It was easier than telling a 5-year-old that her father doesn't want her." Rebecca met his gaze directly. "I've tried to be honest with her in age-appropriate ways. She knows I love her enough for 2 parents." Nathan nodded slowly. "I'm sorry. That must be difficult." "We manage." Rebecca glanced over at Lily, who was climbing through a tunnel in the play structure. "She's a happy child, despite everything. That's what matters." "She certainly seems happy," Nathan agreed, watching the little girl who so resembled his missing daughter. "Rebecca, can I ask you something that might sound strange?" Rebecca tensed visibly. "You want to know why she looks so much like Sophie?" "Yes." "I don't know," she admitted. "When I saw the foundation website with Sophie's photo, I was shocked too. The resemblance is uncanny, but it's just one of those things, a genetic coincidence. The world is full of doppelgangers. And the same birthday? Pure coincidence. Lily was born in San Diego. I have the birth certificate, hospital records, everything." Nathan nodded, not entirely convinced, but unwilling to push further. "She's a remarkable child." "Yes, she is." Rebecca's expression softened as she watched her daughter. "Nathan, why did you really want to have dinner with us? Is it just because Lily reminds you of Sophie?" The question was direct, challenging. Nathan considered his answer carefully. "Initially, yes," he admitted. "The resemblance, it took my breath away. But there's more to it. Seeing Lily laughing and playing, it reminded me that life goes on. For 2 years, I've been existing, not living. Running my companies, expanding the foundation, but not really present in my own life. And now I'd like to get to know both of you better, if you'll let me. No expectations, no pressure, just friendship." Rebecca studied him, her dark eyes searching his face. "I don't want Lily to be a replacement for Sophie." "She isn't," Nathan assured her. "No one could replace Sophie. But seeing Lily yesterday was like seeing a rainbow after years of rain. It didn't erase the storm, but it reminded me there can be beauty after pain." Rebecca's expression softened slightly. "That's actually quite poetic for a tech mogul." Nathan smiled, perhaps his first genuine smile in months. "Don't tell anyone. It would ruin my ruthless reputation." "Your secret's safe with me," Rebecca promised, returning his smile. "Mommy, Mr. Nathan, look, what I found. Lily came running back to their table, something clutched in her small hand. She opened her palm to reveal a small purple butterfly hair clip. It was under the slide. Can I keep it? I don't know, honey. It belongs to someone else, Rebecca began. Actually, Nathan interrupted, I think you should keep it. Butterflies are very special. Did you know the foundation where your mom works is named after butterflies? Lily's eyes widened. Really? Why? Because butterflies start as one thing and transform into something even more beautiful, Nathan explained carefully, avoiding mention of Sophie. They remind us that change can be wonderful. Like how Comet changed from being alone to having friends? Lily asked, referring to her unicorn. Exactly like that, Nathan agreed. Rebecca caught his eye over Lily's head, a silent thank you in her gaze. Should we order dessert? I think they have chocolate cake. Chocolate is my favorite, Lily exclaimed. Mine too, Nathan said, and this time when he smiled, it reached his eyes. As they shared dessert, a massive slice of chocolate cake that Lily attacked with gusto, Nathan found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't in years. The constant ache of Sophie's absence was still there, a shadow in his heart, but for the first time, it was accompanied by something else. A small, fragile spark of joy. When the evening ended, Nathan walked them to Rebecca's modest Toyota in the parking lot. Lily was sleepy, leaning against her mother's side. Thank you for dinner, Rebecca said, unlocking the car. It was nicer than I expected. Would it be all right if we did it again sometime? Nathan asked. Rebecca hesitated, then nodded. I think that would be okay. But Nathan, I need you to be sure about this. Lily gets attached easily. If you're going to be in her life, even just as a friend, you need to be consistent. I understand, Nathan said solemnly. I'd like to be a friend to both of you, if you'll let me. Good night, Mr. Nathan, Lily mumbled sleepily as Rebecca helped her into her booster seat. Good night, Comet says too. Good night, Lily. Good night, Comet, Nathan replied, watching as Rebecca secured the seatbelt around her daughter. Before getting into the driver's seat, Rebecca turned to him. The foundation fundraiser is next week. Lily usually stays with a sitter, but would it be okay if I brought her this time? The question felt significant. An olive branch extended cautiously. I'd like that very much, Nathan said. As he watched their car drive away, Nathan felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time, anticipation for the days ahead. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Undoubtedly work, always more work, but for once he didn't immediately check it. Instead, he looked up at the night sky, where a few stars were visible despite Seattle's light pollution. Somewhere, perhaps, Sophie could see those same stars. And here on Earth, a little girl with her face had just entered his life like a comet, bright and unexpected. Nathan didn't believe in signs, not really, but if he did, he might have called this one hope. The week leading up to the butterfly. Foundation fundraiser passed in a blur of meetings and conference calls for Nathan, but for the first time in years, work wasn't his only focus. He found himself texting Rebecca daily, innocuous messages that often centered around Lily. A funny thing she'd said, a drawing she'd made, a question about whether Lily would prefer the chocolate or vanilla cupcakes being served at the fundraiser. Both. Rebecca had replied with a laughing emoji, always both with Lily. Nathan had instructed the caterer to prepare special cupcakes with chocolate and vanilla swirled together. The night of the fundraiser arrived, and Nathan found himself unusually nervous as he adjusted his bow tie in the mirror of the Grand Hyatt's executive suite. The foundation had booked the hotel's grand ballroom, transforming it into an elegant space with butterfly motifs subtly incorporated into the decor. Tables draped in midnight blue linens were adorned with centerpieces of white orchids and delicate glass butterflies that caught the light. Everything looks perfect, Elaine assured him, tablet in hand as she checked the final details. The guest list is impressive. We've got 3 state senators, the mayor, and enough tech billionaires to fund the foundation for a decade. And Rebecca? She's here? Nathan couldn't keep the eagerness from his voice. Elaine gave him a knowing, "Look, she arrived 10 minutes ago with her daughter. They're near the butterfly display in the east corner." Nathan nodded, trying to appear casual. I should go greet our guests. Of course, Elaine said dryly, all of our guests. Nathan made his way through the growing crowd, stopping to shake hands and accept congratulations on the foundation's success. The Butterfly Foundation had grown rapidly in its 2 years of existence, funding programs for missing and vulnerable children across the Pacific Northwest. Many attendees commented on Nathan's apparent renewed energy and focus, which he acknowledged with a nod. He spotted Rebecca and Lily near the wall-sized display of artificial monarch butterflies that served as a backdrop for photos. Rebecca wore a simple but elegant navy dress that highlighted her slender figure. Her dark hair swept up in a sophisticated updo. Beside her, Lily was a vision in a purple dress with a full skirt that she kept twirling to make it flare out. Mr. Nathan! Lily spotted him and ran over, dodging around elegant evening gowns and tuxedos. Look at my dress, it has pockets. Nathan crouched down to her level, smiling genuinely. It's a beautiful dress, Lily, and pockets too, that's very impressive. I put Comet in my pocket so he wouldn't be lonely at home, she confided, pulling out the small blue unicorn. Very thoughtful of you, Nathan nodded seriously. I'm sure he's enjoying the party. Rebecca approached, an apologetic smile on her lips. I told her to leave the toys at home, but she insisted Comet needed to see the butterflies. He's more than welcome, Nathan assured her, standing up. You look lovely, Rebecca. A faint blush colored her cheeks. Thank you, this is quite an event you've put together. The credit goes to you and your team. I just signed the checks. Speaking of which, Rebecca lowered her voice, glancing down to make sure Lily was distracted with her unicorn. We've already received pledges totaling over 2 million, and the evening's barely started. Nathan nodded, pleased but not surprised. Seattle's elite can be generous when properly motivated. The silent auction items you secured are particularly impressive. Mommy, can I have a cupcake? Lily tugged at Rebecca's dress, eyeing the dessert table. After dinner, sweetheart, Rebecca replied. Remember our deal? Lily sighed dramatically. Dinner first, then dessert. But those cupcakes look magical. They're special ones, just for you, Nathan told her. Half chocolate, half vanilla. Lily's eyes widened. Really? How did you know that's my favorite? A little bird told me. Nathan winked at Rebecca. Not a bird, silly, a butterfly, Lily giggled, pointing at the display. As the evening progressed, Nathan found himself constantly aware of Rebecca and Lily's presence in the room. He delivered his speech about the Foundation's mission with renewed passion, and when he introduced Rebecca as the Foundation's director, the pride in his voice was evident to everyone. After the formal program ended and guests began to mingle more freely, Nathan noticed Lily starting to droop, her earlier energy fading as the hour grew late. She's getting tired, he observed to Rebecca, as Lily leaned heavily against her mother's side, Comet clutched in one hand and a half-eaten special cupcake in the other. It's well past her bedtime, Rebecca agreed. I should probably take her home soon. I've got a suite upstairs, Nathan offered. She could rest there for a while if you need to stay for the networking portion. Rebecca hesitated. That's very kind, but I'm not tired, Lily protested unconvincingly, her eyes already half closed. I have the presidential suite, Nathan continued. There's a separate bedroom. She could nap while we continue the fundraiser. My assistant, Glenn, could stay with her if you're not comfortable leaving her alone. Rebecca considered the offer, clearly torn between her professional responsibilities and maternal concern. Please, Mommy, Lily yawned. I want to see a president's room. Rebecca laughed softly. It's not that kind of presidential, honey. She turned to Nathan. If you're sure it's no trouble, that would actually be very helpful. I should really speak with Senator Garcia about the new legislative initiative. Nathan nodded. No trouble at all. He signaled to Elaine, who appeared beside them with her usual efficiency. Elaine, would you mind showing Ms. Martinez and Lily to my suite? Lily needs a quiet place to rest. Of course, Elaine replied smoothly. I'd be happy to stay with her if needed. Thank you, Rebecca said gratefully. I'll just get her settled and come back down. Nathan watched as Elaine led them toward the elevator, Lily now practically asleep on her feet. Something warm unfurled in his chest at the Sight, a feeling of protectiveness, of connection. The remainder of the evening was a triumph for the foundation. Nathan moved through the crowd with an ease he hadn't felt in years, securing additional donations and forging connections that would benefit their cause. Rebecca rejoined him after about 20 minutes, her professional demeanor slightly softened by maternal concern. "She's sound asleep," she reported. "Your assistant is a miracle worker. She found a Disney movie on the television and had Lily dozing within minutes." "Elaine's efficiency is legendary," Nathan agreed. "Her LinkedIn profile should list child whispering among her skills." Rebecca laughed, a warm, genuine sound that Nathan found himself wanting to hear more often. "I should add that to my resume too. It's my most practiced skill." As the event wound down, Nathan and Rebecca found themselves standing together near the butterfly display discussing the evening's success. "We've exceeded our fundraising goal by 40%, Rebecca said, satisfaction evident in her voice. "That means we can expand the art therapy program to 3 more facilities and implement the search and support network you proposed," Nathan added. "The board approved it yesterday." Rebecca's eyes widened. "Really? Nathan, that's incredible. Do you know how many families that will help?" "I have some idea," he said quietly. "Families like mine searching for answers." Rebecca's expression softened with compassion. "Any news about Sophie?" Nathan shook his head. "Nothing substantial. The investigators follow every lead, but..." He trailed off, the familiar ache returning. Rebecca hesitated, then placed her hand gently on his arm. "I can't imagine how difficult it must be. Not knowing." "Some days are harder than others," Nathan admitted. "Recently, though, the good days have become more frequent." Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Rebecca withdrew her hand, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "I should check on Lily," she said. "I'll come with you," Nathan offered. "The party's winding down anyway." They rode the elevator in comfortable silence. When they reached the presidential suite, Elaine met them at the door. "She's still sleeping soundly," she reported in a hushed voice. "Hasn't moved an inch since..." She dozed off. "Thank you for watching her," Rebecca said. "My pleasure. She's a delightful child." Elaine gave Nathan a meaningful look before departing. "I'll handle the last of the guests downstairs, Mr. Blackwood." Inside the suite, they found Lily curled up on the king-sized bed in the main bedroom, Comet tucked under her arm, her strawberry blonde curls spread across the pillow. In sleep, her resemblance to Sophie was even more pronounced, and Nathan felt his heart constrict. "She looks so peaceful," Rebecca whispered, standing in the doorway beside him. "She does," Nathan agreed. "Rebecca, The sharp ring of a cell phone cut through the quiet. Rebecca quickly fumbled in her clutch to silence it, but Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Mommy," she murmured sleepily. "I'm here, sweetheart." Rebecca moved to sit on the edge of the bed. "Go back to sleep." But Lily was already pushing herself up, rubbing her eyes. "Is the party over? Did I miss the butterflies?" "The party's winding down," Nathan said from the doorway, "but the butterflies are still there if you want to see them again before you go home." Lily yawned, considering the offer. "Can we go home instead? Comet is tired." Rebecca smoothed her daughter's hair. "Of course we can. Let's get your shoes on." Nathan waited in the living area of the suite while Rebecca helped Lily with her shoes and gathered her small purse. He found himself wishing they could stay, longer reluctant to see them leave. "Thank you for letting me use your special room, Mr. Nathan," Lily said as they prepared to depart. "It has the biggest TV I've ever seen." "You're very welcome, Lily," Nathan replied. "Maybe you and your mom could visit again sometime." Lily nodded enthusiastically. "Can we, Mummy? Mr. Nathan has the best cupcakes." Rebecca hesitated, then nodded. "We'll see. It's late now, though. We should get home." "I'll have my driver take you," Nathan insisted. "It's too late for you to be waiting for a rideshare." Too tired to argue, Rebecca accepted his offer. As they rode the elevator down to the lobby, Lily leaned against Nathan's leg, half asleep again. The simple, trusting gesture affected him deeply. At the hotel entrance, Nathan's driver was waiting with the Tesla. Nathan helped Rebecca get Lily settled in the back seat, the child already drifting back to sleep. "Thank you for everything." "Tonight," Rebecca said as she prepared to get in beside her daughter, "the fundraiser was a huge success." "Thank you for bringing Lily," Nathan replied. "Seeing her enjoy the butterflies, it meant a lot to me." Rebecca studied his face in the soft light spilling from the hotel entrance. "You've changed since we met at the mall. There's more life in your eyes now." "I feel more alive," Nathan admitted. "Rebecca, I'd like to spend more time with you and Lily if that's all right, not just at foundation events." Rebecca hesitated, conflict visible in her expression. "Nathan." "I choose Mr. Blackwood," the driver interrupted. "There's a situation at the back entrance. Security is asking for you." Nathan frowned. "What kind of situation?" "A man tried to enter through the service area. When stopped, he claimed to be looking for Ms. Martinez." Rebecca went pale. "What did he look like?" "Tall, blonde, early 30s. Security is holding him now." Rebecca's hand flew to her mouth. "Daniel," she whispered. "It's Lily's father." Nathan's expression hardened. "Stay here with Lily. I'll handle this." "No," Rebecca grabbed his arm. "If it is Daniel, I should talk to him. He's unpredictable." "All the more reason for you to stay with Lily," Nathan insisted. "I'll have security escort him out." "You don't understand," Rebecca's voice was urgent. "If he's found us, he won't stop. He'll come back." The fear in her eyes made Nathan pause. "What does he want?" "Money, usually," Rebecca said bitterly. "He has gambling debts, but he also uses Lily to control me. He threatens to fight for custody when he wants something, even though he's never shown any real interest in being a father." Nathan's jaw tightened. "Let me deal with him. I'm good at negotiating." Rebecca looked torn, glancing back at the sleeping Lily. "Be careful. He can be charming, but he's manipulative." Nathan nodded. "Stay with the car. Lock the doors. I'll be right back." He strode back into the hotel, fury building with each step. The man who had abandoned Rebecca and Lily, who now appeared to threaten their peace, was about to discover what happened when someone crossed Nathan Blackwood. At the service entrance, 2 security guards were restraining a handsome blonde man in his early 30s, dressed in a rumpled but expensive-looking suit. "I told you, I'm just looking for Rebecca Martinez," the man was saying, his tone reasonable, but with an edge of irritation. "She works for the Butterfly Foundation. This is their event, right?" "Mr. Blackwood," one of the guards acknowledged Nathan's arrival. "This gentleman was trying to enter through the service area without credentials." Nathan studied the man coldly. "I'm Nathan Blackwood, founder of the Butterfly Foundation. Who are you?" The man straightened, flashing a charming smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Daniel Russo. I'm looking for Rebecca Martinez. She's my... Well, we have a daughter together. I just want to talk to her." "Ms. Martinez doesn't want to talk to you," Nathan replied flatly. Daniel's smile faltered slightly. "Look, I understand she might have said that, but this is a family matter. I haven't seen my daughter in years. I have rights." "Rights you've chosen not to exercise until now," Nathan observed. "Interesting timing, showing up at a high-profile charity event." Daniel's expression hardened. "Who the hell are you to get involved in my family business?" "I'm the man who's going to make sure you leave this hotel immediately and don't come back," Nathan stated calmly. "Security, please escort Mr. Russo out." "Wait," Daniel held up his hands. "Just wait. I admit I've made mistakes. I haven't been there for Lily, but I'm trying to make amends. I just want to see my daughter." "At midnight? At a charity event?" Nathan's voice dripped with skepticism. "Try again." Daniel's facade cracked slightly, desperation seeping through. "Look, I'm in some trouble. I need help. Rebecca knows me. She'll understand." "Financial trouble, I assume?" Nathan raised an eyebrow. Daniel hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Some guys I owe money to are getting impatient. If I could just talk to Rebecca." "How much?" Nathan interrupted. "What? How much do you owe?" Daniel named a figure that would be substantial to most people, but was pocket change to Nathan. "Here's what's going to happen," Nathan said, his voice low and controlled. "You're going to leave now, without seeing Rebecca or Lily. Tomorrow, You'll meet with my lawyer to sign papers, relinquishing any claim to custody of Lily. In exchange, your debts will be paid, and you'll receive a one-time payment to start fresh somewhere far from Seattle. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Who the hell do you think you are? You can't buy my daughter. I'm not buying your daughter, Nathan replied coldly. I'm buying your absence from her life, based on your behavior. It's something you're already selling. I'm just formalizing the transaction. Daniel's expression turned calculating. And if I refuse? If I decide I want to be part of my daughter's life after all? Then you'll face the full force of the legal team that handles Blackwood Enterprises. Global operations, Nathan stated matter-of-factly. They'll uncover every debt, every indiscretion, every failure of responsibility. By the time they're done, no family court in the country would grant you visitation, let alone custody. Daniel stared at him, anger and assessment warring in his expression. You're involved with Rebecca, he said finally. That's what this is about. This is about protecting a child and her mother from a man who sees them as nothing more than leverage, Nathan corrected him. My relationship with them is none of your concern. Daniel laughed, a bitter sound. You have no idea what you're getting into. Rebecca has secrets, and Lily... He shook his head. You think you know them, but you don't. I know enough, Nathan replied steadily. My offer stands until noon tomorrow. After that, it's off the table. Daniel studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Fine. Have your lawyer call me. He pulled out a business card and handed it to Nathan. But this isn't over. For your sake, I hope it is, Nathan replied, taking the card. Security will see you out. As the guards escorted Daniel away, Nathan remained standing in the service corridor, Daniel's cryptic warning echoing in his mind. What secrets could Rebecca be keeping? And what had Daniel been about to say about Lily? Nathan returned to the Tesla, where Rebecca was waiting anxiously, her gaze fixed on the sleeping Lily. Was it him? She asked, as Nathan slid into the seat beside her. Yes, Nathan confirmed. He's gone now. We came to an arrangement. Rebecca's eyes widened. What kind of arrangement? I'll explain tomorrow, Nathan said, conscious of Lily's presence even though the child was asleep. For now, let's get you both home safely. As the car pulled away from the hotel, Nathan found himself processing the events of the evening. The successful fundraiser, the peaceful image of Lily sleeping in his suite, and now this confrontation with Daniel. It all felt strangely like pieces of a puzzle shifting into place. He glanced at Rebecca, who was absently stroking Lily's hair as the child slept against her side. There was fear in her eyes, but also a steely determination that he admired. Whatever secrets Daniel had alluded to, Nathan realized he was already too invested in their lives to turn back now. Everything will be all right, he said softly. Rebecca met his gaze, her expression unreadable in the dim light of the car. I hope you're right, she whispered, for all our sakes. The morning after the fundraiser, Nathan met with his legal team in the sleek conference room of Blackwood Enterprises, downtown headquarters. Morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a panoramic view of Elliott Bay that none of the lawyers seemed to appreciate as they focused intently on their tablets and notebooks. This needs to be airtight, Nathan instructed Margaret Chen, his head of legal affairs. I want complete termination of parental rights in exchange for the financial settlement. Margaret, a formidable attorney who had shepherded Blackwood Enterprises through dozens of complex acquisitions, nodded thoughtfully. It's doable, but there are complications. For one, we don't represent Ms. Martinez or her daughter. For another, family court typically doesn't favor termination of parental rights unless there's a step-parent adoption pending. Can we work around that? Nathan asked. Possibly. If Mr. Russo is willing to sign and if Ms. Martinez agrees, we could prepare the paperwork. But Nathan, Margaret's expression grew serious. This is unusually personal for you. May I ask why you're involving yourself and the company in this matter? Nathan hesitated. How could he explain his connection to Lily and Rebecca without sounding irrational? How could he describe the way his heart had restarted after 2 years of numbness when Lily had asked if he was her father? The Butterfly Foundation is my personal project, he said finally. Ms. Martinez is its director. Her ex's reappearance threatens the Foundation's stability and mission. Margaret didn't look convinced, but she nodded. I'll have papers drawn up by noon. But Nathan, tread carefully. Family matters can be messy. I'm well aware, Nathan replied dryly. He left the meeting and headed directly to the Butterfly Foundation's offices, located in a renovated historical building near Pioneer Square. Unlike the ultra-modern Blackwood Enterprises headquarters, the Foundation's space was warm and welcoming, with comfortable seating areas and walls adorned with children's artwork and butterfly-themed murals. The receptionist greeted him with surprise. Nathan rarely visited unannounced, but quickly directed him to Rebecca's office. He found her on the phone, her expression tense as she paced behind her desk. When she saw Nathan, relief flooded her features. I have to go, she said into the phone. We'll continue this discussion later. She hung up without waiting for a response. Was that him? Nathan asked, closing the door behind him. Rebecca nodded, sinking into her chair. He called 3 times this morning. He says you offered him money to disappear. I did, Nathan confirmed, taking a seat across from her. It seemed the most expedient solution. You can't just... Rebecca ran, a hand through her hair, frustration evident. Nathan, this isn't a business deal. This is my life. Lily's life. I was trying to help, Nathan said, taken aback by her reaction. Daniel is clearly only interested in financial gain. I thought buying him off would be the cleanest solution. And you didn't think to consult me first? Rebecca's voice rose slightly. To ask what I wanted? Nathan frowned. I was protecting you and Lily. That's not your responsibility, Rebecca said firmly, then sighed. I'm sorry, I know you meant well, but Daniel is complicated. Money won't make him go away permanently. It might satisfy him for now, but he'll be back when it runs out. Not if he signs away his parental rights, Nathan countered. My legal team is preparing the paperwork now. Rebecca stared at him. You involved your legal team without talking to me. Nathan faltered, realizing his misstep. Yes. I should have consulted you first. I apologize. Rebecca's expression softened slightly at his apology. I understand you were trying to help, but Nathan, you can't fix this situation by throwing money and lawyers at it. Daniel is vindictive. If he feels cornered or manipulated, he'll retaliate. What do you suggest? Nathan asked, genuinely curious. Rebecca sighed, leaning back in her chair. I've dealt with Daniel for years. The best approach is to give him just enough to make him go away temporarily, without engaging in any legal proceedings that might antagonize him. So we just let him periodically extort you? Nathan couldn't keep the disapproval from his voice. It's not ideal, but it's worked so far, Rebecca said. Lily is safe. That's what matters. Nathan studied her, noting the shadows under her eyes and the tension in her shoulders. So you haven't told me everything about Daniel, have you? Rebecca's gaze dropped to her desk. No, she admitted quietly. It's complicated. I'm good with complicated, Nathan said gently. Rebecca, I want to help, but I can't if I don't understand what we're dealing with. She was silent for a long moment, then raised her eyes to meet his. Daniel knows things about me, about my past, that could be problematic if they came to light. Things that could potentially affect my custody of Lily. Nathan frowned. What kind of things? I wasn't always Rebecca Martinez, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I changed my name when I left California. Daniel knows my real identity, and he knows why I had to leave it behind. Were you in some kind of trouble? Rebecca nodded, her expression pained. Not legal trouble exactly, but I was involved with people who weren't good. Daniel was part of that crowd. When I got pregnant with Lily, I knew I had to get out, create a new life for us. Daniel helped me disappear in exchange for a promise that he would always have access to Lily if he wanted it. But he didn't want it, Nathan surmised. Not really. He showed up occasionally in the first year, but his visits were more about controlling me than caring for Lily. When I moved to Seattle, he let us go until now. And you're afraid that if we push too hard legally, he'll reveal your past. Rebecca nodded. I've built a good life here. I love my work at the foundation. Lily is happy. She's doing well in school. If Daniel exposes my past, whatever it is, we can deal with it, Nathan assured her. My resources aren't just financial, Rebecca. I have connections, influence. This isn't something money or influence can fix, Rebecca said sadly. Some mistakes follow you forever. Before Nathan could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it to see a text from Margaret. Russo arrived for the meeting. Seems eager. Should we proceed? Nathan looked back at Rebecca. Daniel's at my office. Now meeting with my legal team. What do you want me to do? Rebecca hesitated, conflict evident in her expression. What exactly are you offering him? $500,000 and full payment of his gambling debts in exchange for termination of parental rights, Nathan said. Plus a non-disclosure agreement covering both you and Lily. Rebecca's eyes widened. That's a lot of money. It's nothing to me, Nathan said simply. Especially if it means you and Lily can have peace. Rebecca was quiet for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, but I want to be there. I need to see him sign the papers myself. Of course, Nathan agreed, quickly texting Margaret to delay the meeting until they arrived. As they rode in Nathan's Tesla to Blackwood Enterprises, Rebecca was silent, staring out the window at the Seattle streets. Nathan resisted the urge to press her for more details about her past. Whatever secrets she was keeping, he respected her right to reveal them in her own time. Daniel will try to manipulate the situation, Rebecca said suddenly, still looking out the window. He'll say things designed to provoke you, to make you doubt me. I'm not easily manipulated, Nathan assured her. Rebecca turned to look at him, her expression serious. He'll likely mention Lily's resemblance to your daughter. He knows about Sophie, about her disappearance. He researched you after the fundraiser. Nathan felt a chill run through him. How? Daniel's always been good at finding information, Rebecca said grimly. It's part of what made him valuable to the people we used to know. What kind of people were these? Nathan asked carefully. Rebecca hesitated, then shook her head. It doesn't matter now, just be prepared. Daniel fights dirty. When they arrived at Blackwood Enterprises, Margaret met them in the lobby, her expression professionally neutral as Nathan introduced Rebecca. Mr. Russo is waiting in conference room 3, she informed them. He seems amenable to the terms, but he's asking to speak with Ms. Martinez alone before signing. Absolutely not, Nathan said immediately. It's okay, Rebecca touched his arm gently. I can handle Daniel. I don't think that's wise, Margaret interjected. From a legal standpoint, any private conversation could potentially invalidate the agreement if he later claims coercion or misinformation. She's right, Nathan agreed. We should all be present for any discussions. Rebecca nodded reluctantly. Fine. Let's get this over with. Conference room 3 was one of the smaller meeting spaces, designed for intimate negotiations rather than large presentations. Daniel Russo sat at the polished table, looking more put together than he had the previous night. His blonde hair was neatly styled, and his suit, while not designer quality, was well tailored and presentable. He stood when they entered, his charming smile firmly in place. Rebecca, he greeted her, as if they were old friends meeting for lunch. You look well. Daniel, Rebecca's voice was cool. Let's not pretend this is a social call. Daniel's smile didn't falter, as his gaze shifted to Nathan. Mr. Blackwood, I appreciate your generous offer, though I'm curious why a tech billionaire is so interested in my family affairs. I'm interested in resolving this situation efficiently, Nathan replied neutrally. The terms are straightforward. The payment in exchange for termination of parental rights and a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement. Daniel leaned back in his chair, studying Nathan with calculating eyes. That's quite a price tag for someone else's child, unless... He let the word hang in the air. Unless what? Nathan asked, though he suspected what was coming. Unless she's not someone else's child, Daniel finished, his gaze moving between Nathan and Rebecca. The resemblance is remarkable, isn't it? To your missing daughter. Sophie, right? Nathan felt his jaw tighten but kept his expression impassive. We're not here to discuss my family. Aren't we? Daniel smiled thinly. I think we are. I think that's exactly why you're willing to pay so much. He turned to Rebecca. Did you tell him the truth about Lily? Rebecca's face had gone pale. There's nothing to tell. No? Daniel raised an eyebrow. So he knows everything? About who you really are? About where Lily really came from? That's enough, Daniel, Rebecca said sharply. Mr. Russo, Margaret interrupted smoothly. The papers are prepared. If you're ready to sign, we can proceed. If not, we'll consider the offer withdrawn. Daniel held up his hands in mock surrender. No need for ultimatums. I'm ready to sign. I just thought everyone should be clear about what's really happening here. He looked directly at Nathan. You're not buying my parental rights, Mr. Blackwood. You're buying a fantasy that somehow this child is connected to your missing daughter? Nathan kept his expression neutral with effort. The only connection that matters is that Rebecca works for my foundation, and your harassment is interfering with that work. Daniel chuckled, shaking his head. If that helps you sleep. At night, he reached for the stack of papers Margaret had placed before him. Where do I sign? For the next 20 minutes, they proceeded through the legal formalities. Daniel signed each document with a flourish, occasionally making sarcastic comments that everyone ignored. Nathan watched Rebecca throughout the process, noting her rigid posture and the way she avoided looking directly at Daniel. When the final signature was in place, Margaret gathered the papers efficiently. The first payment will be transferred to your account within 24 hours, with the remainder to follow upon verification that all documents are in order. Perfect, Daniel stood, straightening his jacket. Always a pleasure doing business. He turned to Rebecca. Take care of our girl, or should I say, their girl? Get out, Nathan said quietly, his patience finally at an end. Daniel smiled, unperturbed. I'm going, but Rebecca, he paused at the door, they always find out eventually. You know that, right? After he left, the conference room fell into silence. Margaret tactfully excused herself, leaving Nathan and Rebecca alone. What did he mean? Nathan asked finally. About Lily, about who you really are. Rebecca sighed, suddenly looking exhausted. Daniel loves mind games. He says things to create doubt, confusion. It's how he maintains control. Is there any truth to what he was implying, Nathan pressed, about Lily's connection to Sophie? Rebecca met his gaze directly. Lily is my daughter, Nathan. I gave birth to her. I have the scars to prove it. The resemblance to Sophie is a coincidence, a strange, heartbreaking coincidence. And your real identity? The past you left behind? Rebecca hesitated. That's complicated, and not something I'm ready to discuss, especially not here, not now. Nathan nodded slowly. I understand. But Rebecca, whatever it is, I want you to know it won't change how I feel about you and Lily. You can't promise that, Rebecca said sadly. You don't know what you're promising. Then help me understand, Nathan urged. Rebecca stood, gathering her purse. I need to pick up Lily from school. We can talk later, somewhere more private. Nathan walked her to the elevator, acutely aware of the curious glances from his employees. The rumor mill would be working overtime, the reclusive CEO personally escorting an attractive woman through the building, right after a mysterious meeting with legal. Thank you, Rebecca said as they waited for the elevator, for handling Daniel, for the money. I know $500,000 is nothing to you, but it's life-changing for us. The money is irrelevant, Nathan replied. Your peace of mind is what matters. The elevator arrived and Rebecca stepped inside. Before the doors could close, Nathan impulsively put his hand out to stop them. Have dinner with me tonight, he said. Both of you, at my house on Mercer Island. We can talk privately there. Rebecca hesitated, then nodded. Text me the address. We'll come around 6. As the elevator doors closed between them, Nathan was left with the unsettling feeling that despite the morning's apparent success, he was still missing crucial pieces of a puzzle he didn't fully understand. Back in his office, he found himself staring at the photo of Sophie on his desk. The same bright blue eyes that had looked up at him when Lily asked if he was her father. The same strawberry blonde curls. The same birthday. Could it really all be coincidence? On impulse, Nathan picked up his phone and called the private investigation firm he had retained to search for Sophie. "Mr. Blackwood," the lead investigator greeted him. "I was just about to call you. We've had an interesting development in Sophie's case." Nathan's heart raced. "What kind of development?" "We've been running her photo through facial recognition software against school enrollment databases. As you suggested, we got a partial match in Seattle. Not conclusive, but worth looking into." "Where in Seattle?" Nathan asked, his mouth suddenly dry. "Westside Elementary, a first grader named Lily Martinez." The phone nearly slipped from Nathan's grasp. "I want everything you can find on Rebecca Martinez and her daughter. School records, medical history, birth certificate, everything, and I want it today. Sir, some of that information would require—" "Whatever it costs, whatever it takes," Nathan interrupted. "This is priority one." After hanging up, Nathan sat motionless at his desk, emotions warring within him. Hope, suspicion, confusion, betrayal, all tangled together in a knot he couldn't unravel. If Lily was somehow Sophie, if Rebecca had been involved in his daughter's disappearance, but that was impossible. Rebecca had been working for the Foundation in Seattle when Sophie vanished in California. The timelines didn't match. Unless Rebecca Martinez wasn't who she claimed to be. Unless her complicated past was more sinister than he'd imagined. Nathan shook his head, trying to clear it. He was letting Daniel's insinuations get to him, exactly as Rebecca had warned. There had to be a rational explanation for the resemblance, for the shared birthday, for the partial facial recognition match. Tonight at dinner he would ask Rebecca directly. And this time he wouldn't accept vague answers about complicated pasts. It was time for the truth, whatever that might be. With renewed determination, Nathan turned to his computer and began his own research into Rebecca Martinez's background. If there were secrets to uncover, he would find them before dinner. What he discovered in the next few hours would change everything. Nathan's home on Mercer Island was a modernist masterpiece of glass and cedar, perched on a cliff with panoramic views of Lake Washington. Despite its impressive architecture and museum-quality art collection, it had always felt more like a showcase than a home, especially since Sophie's disappearance. Tonight, though, as Nathan moved through the rooms, turning on lights and adjusting the temperature, he found himself hoping it might finally feel lived in again. He had instructed his housekeeper to prepare the kitchen for his use, rather than hiring a chef. Cooking was a skill he rarely exercised, but tonight he wanted the evening to feel personal, not catered. He was marinating steaks, preparing to roast vegetables, and had even picked up a chocolate cake from a bakery Elaine assured him was Lily's favorite in Seattle. As he worked, his mind kept returning to the information he'd uncovered about Rebecca Martinez that afternoon. The facts were sparse but troubling. Rebecca Martinez had seemingly appeared out of nowhere 6 years ago. Her employment history before the Butterfly Foundation showed a series of short-term positions at various non-profits across the Pacific Northwest, but digging deeper revealed those records were suspiciously thin. The private investigators had turned up more concerning details. The birth certificate for Lily Martinez had been issued in San Diego, but it had been filed nearly 3 months after her purported birth date. Unusual, though not impossible. More significantly, hospital records from the supposed birth couldn't be located. Most troubling of all was what they hadn't found. No record of a Rebecca Martinez with her approximate age and description existing anywhere before 6 years ago. No college transcripts from UCLA, despite her claim of studying social work there. No rental history, no credit score, no social media footprint, nothing to suggest Rebecca Martinez had existed before Lily was born. Nathan had been tempted to confront Rebecca with these findings immediately, but instinct told him to wait, to give her the chance to explain herself voluntarily. Tonight, in the privacy of his home, he would create the opportunity for honesty between them. The doorbell rang precisely at 6 o'clock. Nathan wiped his hands on a kitchen towel and went to answer it himself, dismissing the housekeeper who had discreetly appeared from the staff quarters. Rebecca stood on the doorstep, Lily's hand in hers. Rebecca looked nervous, dressed simply in jeans and a green sweater that brought out the flecks of gold in her brown eyes. Lily, by contrast, was vibrating with excitement, clutching Comet the unicorn and wearing a purple dress with her dinosaur. Rain boots. "Mr. Nathan, your house is a castle," Lily exclaimed, peering around him at the soaring entryway. Nathan smiled, crouching down to her level. "Not quite a castle, but I do have a tower room with a telescope. Would you like to see it?" "Later." Lily's eyes widened. "Can we see the moon? My teacher says the moon is made of rocks, not cheese, but I'm not sure I believe her." "We can definitely check," Nathan promised, straightening up to greet Rebecca. "Thank you for coming." Rebecca offered a tentative smile. "Thank you for inviting us. Something smells amazing." "I'm attempting to cook," Nathan admitted, gesturing them inside. "It may be a misguided effort." "You cook?" Rebecca looked genuinely surprised as she followed him through the house. "Rarely and with questionable results," Nathan replied, "but I thought it might be nice to have a quiet dinner here rather than at a restaurant." The open-concept main floor featured a gourmet kitchen that overlooked a spacious living area with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the lake view. The spring evening was clear, and the setting sun cast a golden glow across the water. "This is beautiful," Rebecca said, softly gazing out at the view. "Pretty water," Lily exclaimed, rushing to the windows. "Are there mermaids in that lake?" "Not that I've seen," Nathan replied seriously, "but I haven't looked very carefully. Perhaps we should investigate sometime." "Yes," Lily nodded emphatically. "Comet, would like to meet a mermaid." Nathan smiled, then turned to Rebecca. "Would you like a glass of wine? I have a nice Cabernet open." "That would be lovely," Rebecca agreed, following him to the kitchen while keeping an eye on Lily, who was now pressing her nose against the glass to get a better view of the lake. As Nathan poured the wine, he observed Rebecca surreptitiously. She seemed tense, her shoulders tight, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Whatever secrets she was keeping, they were clearly weighing on her. "Dinner should be ready in about 30 minutes, Nathan said, handing her a glass. "I thought we might talk while Lily explores a little. There's a playroom upstairs that I had stocked with some toys and books. Sophie's things are in storage, but I asked Elaine to pick up some new items that might appeal to a 6-year-old. Rebecca's expression softened. "That was thoughtful of you." "Lily," Nathan called, "would you like to see the playroom before dinner? I have a surprise for you up there." Lily turned from the window, her eyes lighting up. "A surprise? What kind of surprise?" "If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise," Nathan pointed out logically. Lily considered this, then nodded. "That's true. Okay, let's go see." The three of them climbed the floating staircase to the second floor. Nathan led them down a hallway to a room that had once been a home office but had been hastily converted into a child-friendly space. Colorful beanbags were arranged on a plush carpet, bookshelves held an assortment of children's titles, and a small table was set up with art supplies. The centerpiece, however, was a dollhouse-sized replica of a castle, complete with towers, a drawbridge, and tiny furniture. "A castle for Comet," Lily gasped, rushing over to examine it. "Look, Mummy, it has a throne room." "I thought unicorns deserved a proper home," Nathan explained. "The roof comes off so you can arrange the rooms however you like." Lily was already engrossed, carefully introducing Comet to his new castle home. Rebecca touched Nathan's arm, her expression a mixture of gratitude and concern. "This is incredibly generous," she said, softly. "But Nathan, you don't have to buy Lily's affection." "I'm not trying to," Nathan assured her. I wanted her to feel welcome here." Rebecca studied him for a moment, then nodded. "She clearly does." "Will you be okay exploring the castle?" "For a bit, Lily," Nathan asked. "Your mom and I need to talk downstairs about some grown-up things." Lily barely looked up from arranging tiny furniture. Comet needs to decide where the unicorn kitchen goes." Back downstairs, Nathan checked on dinner, then joined Rebecca in the living area, where she had moved to a sofa facing the lake view. The sun had nearly set, painting the sky in dramatic pinks and purples. It's peaceful here, Rebecca observed as Nathan sat beside her. I can see why you chose this place. Jennifer and I bought it when Sophie was 2, Nathan said, deliberately mentioning his missing daughter. She loved the water. We used to take the boat out every weekend in summer. Rebecca's expression grew sad. You must miss her terribly. Every day, Nathan confirmed, but recently I've started to feel something other than grief. Hope, maybe, or at least the possibility of moving forward while still holding her in my heart. Their eyes met and something unspoken passed between them. Rebecca looked away first, taking a sip of her wine. You wanted to talk, she said quietly. About what Daniel said. Yes, Nathan acknowledged. Rebecca, I need to know the truth about your past, about Lily. Rebecca was silent for a long moment, staring out at the darkening lake. I've been dreading this conversation, she finally admitted. But you deserve the truth, especially after everything you've done for us. She set down her wineglass and turned to face him fully. My real name isn't Rebecca Martinez. It's Catherine Reynolds. I was born in Philadelphia, moved to California. After college, I met Daniel in San Diego when I was working for a non-profit there. Nathan kept his expression neutral, despite his racing thoughts. Why did you change your identity? Because I got involved with dangerous people, Rebecca, or Catherine, explained. Daniel wasn't just a gambler. He worked for a man named Victor Serrano who ran an illegal gambling operation with connections to organized crime. I didn't know that when we started dating. By the time I found out, I was already in love with him, or thought I was. How does Lily fit into this? Nathan asked, the question he'd been waiting to ask all evening. Rebecca took a deep breath. When I got pregnant, I realized I needed to get out of that life. I told Daniel I wanted to leave, to start fresh somewhere else. He said he would help me disappear, create a new identity in exchange for money. I had some savings, not much, but enough to pay him. And he agreed to let you take his child. Daniel never wanted to be a father, Rebecca said bitterly. He saw Lily as an inconvenience, a responsibility he didn't want. But he also saw her as leverage over me. Nathan studied her face, looking for signs of deception. That explains the name change, but not the other inconsistencies. There's no record of Lily's birth at any hospital in San Diego. Rebecca's eyes widened. You've been investigating me? After what Daniel implied, yes, Nathan admitted. Rebecca or Catherine, I needed to know if there was any possibility, any chance at all that Lily could be Sophie, Rebecca finished for him. You think Lily is your daughter? The resemblance is extraordinary, Nathan said carefully. They share a birthday. A facial recognition scan showed a partial match. You appeared in Seattle shortly after Sophie disappeared. You can see why I might have questions. Rebecca stood abruptly, pacing before the windows. This is exactly what Daniel wanted, to create doubt, to drive a wedge between us. Nathan, Lily is my daughter. I gave birth to her. Where? There's no record of it. I had her at home, Rebecca said, with a midwife who was part of Victor's organization. They often used her for situations that needed to stay off the books. When I left, Daniel helped me get a delayed birth certificate filed. Nathan frowned. That's quite convenient. It's the truth, Rebecca insisted, her voice rising slightly. She lowered it again, glancing toward the stairs. Nathan, think about it logically. How could Lily be Sophie? The timeline doesn't work. Sophie disappeared 2 years ago. Lily is 6. Sophie would be 6 now too, Nathan pointed out. And we both know birth certificates can be falsified. Age can be flexible, especially with small children. Rebecca stared at him, incredulous. You think I've been pretending Lily is older than she is? That I somehow was involved in your daughter's disappearance, then took a job at your foundation? That's absurd, is it? Nathan stood as well, his calm facade cracking slightly. What about the facial similarities? The same birthday? The fact that your entire backstory falls apart under the slightest scrutiny? Coincidences happen, Rebecca argued. And my backstory is complicated because I was running from dangerous people, not because I kidnapped your child. They both fell silent, the accusation hanging in the air between them. From upstairs came the faint sound of Lily talking to her unicorn, oblivious to the tension below. Nathan ran a hand through his hair, suddenly exhausted. "I want to believe you, Rebecca, but you have to understand how this looks." "I do," she said, her voice softening. "If I were in your position, I'd have questions too. But Nathan, I swear to you, Lily is my biological daughter. The resemblance to Sophie is a coincidence. A cruel one, perhaps, but still just a coincidence." "Then prove it," Nathan said simply. "A DNA test would settle this." Rebecca's expression hardened. "You want me to submit my daughter to a DNA test to prove she's not your missing child? Do you have any idea how invasive and traumatic that would be for her?" "It's a simple cheek swab," Nathan argued. "She wouldn't even need to know why." "And what about me?" Rebecca demanded. "You're asking me to prove I'm not a kidnapper, that I didn't steal your child. Do you have any idea how that feels?" Before Nathan could respond, the oven timer beeped, loudly from the kitchen. They both jumped, the mundane sound breaking the tension momentarily. "I should check on dinner," Nathan said stiffly. "I'll get Lily," Rebecca replied, equally formal. They separated, the easy camaraderie of earlier, completely evaporated. Nathan busied himself with the food, trying to sort through his conflicting emotions. He wanted desperately to believe Rebecca, but the inconsistencies in her story were too significant to ignore. Yet the alternative, that she had somehow been involved in Sophie's disappearance, seemed equally implausible. By the time Rebecca returned with Lily, Nathan had composed himself enough to present a calm facade. Lily was chattering excitedly about the castle and didn't seem to notice the tension between the adults as they sat down to dinner. "Mr. Nathan, did you know that unicorns only eat rainbow foods?" Lily asked as she examined her steak dubiously. "I wasn't aware of that," Nathan replied, managing a smile. "Is steak not a rainbow food?" Lily considered this seriously. "No, it's just brown. But the vegetables have colors, so maybe it's okay. Just this once." "Very gracious of you," Nathan nodded. The meal proceeded with Lily providing most of the conversation, the adults contributing just enough to keep her happy. Rebecca avoided meeting Nathan's eyes, focusing instead on helping Lily cut her meat and encouraging her to try the roasted Brussels sprouts. After dinner, as Nathan served the chocolate cake, his phone rang. He checked the screen and frowned. It was the private investigation firm. "Excuse me, I need to take this," he said, stepping away from the table. "Blackwood," he answered tersely. "Mr. Blackwood, it's Hayes. We've found something you need to see immediately regarding Rebecca Martinez." Nathan glanced back at the table, where Rebecca was helping Lily wipe chocolate frosting from her chin. "Can it wait until morning?" "Sir, I don't think it should. It's about her connection to Jennifer Hamilton." Nathan froze. Jennifer Hamilton was his ex-wife, Sophie's mother. What connection? "We found a photo, sir, from about 7 years ago. Jennifer Hamilton and Catherine Reynolds, aka Rebecca Martinez, at a charity event in San Diego. They knew each other, sir. Before Sophie disappeared." The implications hit Nathan like a physical blow. If Rebecca had known Jennifer, "Send me everything, now." He ended the call and returned to the table, struggling to maintain his composure. "Is everything okay?" Rebecca asked, clearly noting his expression. "Fine," Nathan replied shortly. "Just a work matter." His phone pinged with an incoming email. He resisted the urge to check it immediately. "Mommy, can we see the moon now?" Lily asked, having demolished her cake with impressive efficiency. "Mr. Nathan said we could use his telescope." Rebecca glanced at Nathan questioningly. He nodded, forcing a smile. "Of course, the tower room is this way." He led them to the 3rd floor, where a circular room with windows on all sides housed an expensive telescope pointed toward the night sky. While Lily exclaimed over the equipment, Nathan checked his phone surreptitiously. The email contained several attachments. He opened the first, a photograph from a charity gala in San Diego 7 years ago. There, smiling for the camera, stood Jennifer Hamilton, his ex-wife, arm in arm with a younger version of the woman now calling herself Rebecca Martinez. His head spinning, Nathan opened the second attachment. a police report filed by Catherine Reynolds 6 years ago, alleging harassment by Daniel Russo. The report mentioned Catherine's friendship with Jenny Hamilton and noted that Catherine had recently given birth to a daughter. The final attachment was the most damning. A text message exchange recovered from Jennifer's old phone records between her and Catherine, dated just 1 week before Sophie disappeared. "Everything is arranged. We'll be there on Tuesday. Thank you for doing this. S will be safe with you until I can join you." Nathan felt physically ill. The evidence seemed clear. Rebecca, or Catherine, had known Jennifer, had been involved in taking Sophie, had perhaps been raising his daughter as her own all these years. He looked across the room to where Rebecca was helping Lily adjust the telescope, both of them laughing as they spotted the moon. In that moment, all he could see was his daughter Sophie, stolen from him, being raised by another woman under a false identity. "Lily," he said, his voice strangely calm, "would you like to see the fish tank in my office while I talk to your mom for a minute?" "Fish, yes," Lily agreed enthusiastically. Nathan showed her to his home office adjacent to the tower room, where a large saltwater aquarium housed colorful tropical fish. Once she was settled, gazing in wonder at a particularly flamboyant angelfish, he closed the door partially and returned to Rebecca. "You knew Jennifer," he said without preamble, holding up his phone with the photo displayed. "You knew my ex-wife before Sophie disappeared." All color drained from Rebecca's face. "Nathan, I can explain..." "Explain what? That you and Jennifer planned Sophie's disappearance together? That Lily is actually Sophie, stolen from me and raised as your child?" "No." Rebecca's denial was vehement. "That's not what happened at all." "Then what did happen?" Nathan demanded. "Because I have proof of your relationship with Jennifer, proof of communication about taking Sophie just before she vanished." Rebecca closed her eyes briefly, as if gathering strength. "Yes, I knew Jennifer. We met in San Diego at a women's shelter where I volunteered. She came there after leaving you before she met her new husband. And the message about taking Sophie, about her being safe with you? It wasn't about kidnapping her," Rebecca insisted. "Jennifer was afraid of her new husband. He had become controlling, abusive. She was planning to leave him, to go to a safe house I had helped arrange. She was going to bring Sophie to stay with me temporarily until she could get settled somewhere new. And I'm supposed to believe that," Nathan's voice was low with anger, "that my ex-wife's new husband was abusive and no one ever told me, that she was planning to run away with my daughter." "She was afraid you wouldn't believe her," Rebecca said quietly, "that you'd think she was making it up to get full custody. So instead, Sophie just vanished," Nathan said bitterly. "And you show up in Seattle with a child who looks exactly like her, with the same birthday, and take a job at my foundation. What an extraordinary coincidence." "It wasn't like that," Rebecca insisted. "Jennifer never brought Sophie to me. The plan changed at the last minute. She called, said they were going to her parents' cabin instead. That was the last I heard from her. When I saw the news about Sophie's disappearance, I was devastated. I tried calling Jennifer, but she'd changed her number. And you didn't go to the police with this information that might have helped find my daughter?" "I was in a complicated situation myself," Rebecca admitted. "I was pregnant, hiding from Daniel and Victor's organization. Going to the police would have exposed me. So you prioritized your safety over finding a missing child." Nathan's voice was ice cold. "I didn't think I knew anything that would help," Rebecca said desperately. "Jennifer hadn't told me where the cabin was located. I assumed the police already knew about her problems with her husband. And then, you just happened to apply for a job at my foundation? A foundation dedicated to finding missing children like Sophie?" "Yes," Rebecca admitted. "I felt responsible somehow. Like if I had done something differently, maybe Sophie would have been found. Working at the foundation was my way of trying to make amends." Nathan shook his head, disbelief evident in every line of his body. "And Lily? You expect me to believe that her resemblance to Sophie, her shared birthday, is all coincidence?" "I don't know how to explain it," Rebecca said, tears forming in her eyes. "But Lily is my daughter, Nathan, my biological daughter with Daniel." "Prove it," Nathan said, his voice hard. A DNA test. Tomorrow. Or I go to the police with everything I've found. Rebecca stared at him, her expression a mixture of hurt and resignation. Fine, she whispered. A DNA test. But not here. Not like this. We'll do it properly, through a reputable lab, with witnesses. First thing tomorrow, Nathan insisted. Fine, Rebecca repeated. She moved toward the office where Lily was still entranced by the fish. Lily, honey, it's time to go home. But I'm still looking at the sparkly fish, Lily protested. We need to go now, Rebecca said firmly. Say thank you to Mr. Nathan for dinner. Confused by the sudden change in plans, Lily nevertheless obeyed, turning to Nathan with a smile that pierced his heart. Thank you for dinner and cake and the castle and the telescope and the fish. You're welcome, Lily, Nathan replied, his voice softening despite himself. As they headed downstairs, the evening clearly over, Nathan found himself torn between certainty and doubt. The evidence against Rebecca was damning, but her explanation was plausible, and looking at Lily, at the child who might be his long-lost daughter, he couldn't reconcile the joyful, well-adjusted little girl with a victim of kidnapping. At the front door, Rebecca turned to him one last time. I'll text you the address of a clinic that can do the test tomorrow. But Nathan, whatever the results show, please remember one thing. Lily believes she is my daughter. She has no memory of any other life. Whatever happens, her well-being has to come first. With that, they were gone, leaving Nathan alone in his enormous house, surrounded by unanswered questions and the tantalizing possibility that his search for Sophie might finally be over. He returned to his office and opened his laptop, determined to find every scrap of information about Catherine Reynolds, Jennifer Hamilton, and the events surrounding Sophie's disappearance. He wouldn't sleep tonight, not when he might be on the verge of discovering the truth about his daughter. As he worked through the night, one question haunted him. If Lily was indeed Sophie, what would happen next? What would it do to the little girl to learn that her entire life had been a lie? And despite everything, could he bring himself to destroy the only world Lily had ever known? Morning found Nathan still in his office, surrounded by empty coffee cups and printouts of everything his investigators had uncovered about Rebecca Martinez, or Catherine Reynolds, as she had been known before. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, but his mind was razor-sharp, focused, on the mystery that had consumed him for hours. The evidence was contradictory. On one hand, there were the undeniable connections between Rebecca and Jennifer, the suspicious timing, and Lily's extraordinary resemblance to Sophie. On the other hand, the timeline didn't quite align. Lily had been documented as existing before Sophie's disappearance, though those documents could potentially have been falsified. Nathan's phone chimed with a text message from Rebecca. Seattle Medical. Genetics, 10 a.m. Bringing my attorney. The address followed. Nathan texted back a simple acknowledgement, then called Margaret Chen. I need you to meet me at Seattle Medical Genetics at 9:45, he instructed his legal head when she answered. And I need you to bring the file on Sophie's disappearance. There was a brief pause before Margaret responded. Nathan, what's going on? I'll explain when I see you, he replied. This is confidential, Margaret. No one else from the firm. After hanging up, Nathan showered and changed, trying to prepare himself for what lay ahead. The DNA test would provide a definitive answer, either confirming his wildest hopes or ending them permanently. Either Lily was Sophie or she wasn't. The truth was that simple, even if its implications were anything but. Nathan arrived at the clinic early, finding Margaret already waiting in the parking lot. Her expression was concerned as he approached. You look terrible, she observed bluntly. When was the last time you slept? Not important, Nathan dismissed her concern. We're here for a DNA test. Rebecca Martinez is bringing her daughter. I need to know if the child is related to me. Margaret's eyebrows shot up. You think the foundation director's child is your missing daughter? Nathan, that's... I don't know what to think, he interrupted. That's why we're here. Rebecca knew Jennifer before Sophie disappeared. There are connections that need to be explored. Before Margaret could respond, another car pulled into the parking lot. Rebecca emerged, followed by a professional-looking woman in a charcoal suit who Nathan didn't recognize. Lily remained in the car, watching a tablet with headphones on, blissfully unaware of the tension surrounding her. "Nathan," Rebecca greeted him, her expression guarded. "This is Diane Forrester, my attorney." Nathan nodded curtly. "Margaret Chen, head of legal for Blackwood Enterprises." The attorneys exchanged professional greetings, while Nathan and Rebecca regarded each other warily. "I've arranged for the test to be conducted with full chain of custody documentation," Rebecca said. "The results will be legally admissible." "Fine," Nathan agreed. "How have you explained this to Lily?" "I told her the doctor needs to check something in her mouth, like when they look for strep throat," Rebecca replied. "She doesn't need to know the real reason." Nathan nodded, relieved that at least on this point they were in agreement, protecting Lily from the potentially traumatic truth until necessary. Inside the clinic, they were ushered into a private waiting area. The process was explained. Cheek swabs would be taken from both Nathan and Lily. The samples would be processed on an expedited basis, and results would be available within 24 hours. "I'd like to request a maternal DNA test as well," Nathan said suddenly, "to determine if Ms. Martinez is Lily's biological mother." Rebecca's attorney immediately objected. "That wasn't part of our agreement. We're here to determine if there's a paternal relationship, nothing more." "If we're seeking the truth, why not be thorough?" Nathan countered. "Unless there's something to hide." Rebecca's face flushed with anger. "I have nothing to hide. Fine, test my DNA too, then this can all be put to rest." The additional test was arranged, and soon a technician called for Lily. Rebecca went with her, leaving Nathan with the two attorneys. "Nathan, I need to advise you about potential outcomes here," Margaret said quietly. "If this child does turn out to be Sophie, the situation becomes incredibly complex. There would be criminal implications for Ms. Martinez, custody issues to navigate, and significant psychological considerations for the child." "I'm aware," Nathan replied tersely. "Are you?" Margaret pressed. "Because from where I'm sitting, you look like a man so desperate to find his daughter that he might not be thinking clearly about what comes next." Nathan turned to her, his expression hard. "What comes next is that I get my daughter back. Everything else is secondary." Margaret shook her head slightly but said nothing more. Rebecca and Lily returned a few minutes later, Lily proudly displaying a cartoon bandage on her finger. "The doctor said I was the bravest girl ever," she announced to the room at large, "and I get a lollipop." "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Rebecca smiled, though the expression didn't reach her eyes. "Now you can watch your show while I talk to the doctors too." Once Lily was settled with her tablet again, Rebecca went for her test. Nathan was called next, the procedure quick and clinical. When they had all returned to the waiting room, the clinic director assured them that the results would be expedited. "We'll call both parties as soon as we have definitive findings," she promised. Outside the clinic, an awkward silence fell. Between the groups, Lily, still oblivious to the tension, was happily playing a game on her tablet in Rebecca's car. "What now?" Rebecca asked quietly. "We wait," Nathan replied. 24 hours. Rebecca nodded, then hesitated. "Nathan, regardless of what the test shows, I need you to understand something. I never intended to hurt you. Everything I've done has been to protect Lily." "If she's Sophie," Nathan began. "Even if the impossible is true," Rebecca interrupted, "even if by some miracle Lily is genetically related to you, it doesn't change the fact that I've raised her for 6 years. I'm the only mother she's ever known. And if you stole her from me," Nathan's voice was low, dangerous. "I didn't," Rebecca insisted, "but even if there's some explanation we don't yet understand, punishing me shouldn't come at Lily's expense." Before Nathan could respond, his phone rang, the private investigator again. "I need to take this," he said, stepping away from the group. "Mr. Blackwood," Hayes greeted him. "We've found Jennifer Hamilton." Nathan nearly dropped the phone. "What, where?" "Zurich, Switzerland. She's been living there under the name Jennifer Kraus for approximately 2 years. She remarried a Swiss banker named Thomas Kraus." "Is Sophie with her?" Nathan demanded, his heart racing. No, sir. Mrs. Krause has a new child, a 1-year-old son, but no sign of Sophie. Nathan's mind raced. If Jennifer was in Switzerland and had been there since shortly after Sophie's disappearance, but Sophie wasn't with her. Keep digging, he ordered. I want everything on Jennifer's movements from the time Sophie disappeared until now, and find out if she's had any contact with Rebecca Martinez. He ended the call and turned back to find Rebecca watching him intently. News? She asked. They found Jennifer, Nathan said bluntly, in Switzerland, without Sophie. Rebecca's eyes widened. Jennifer's alive? I wasn't sure. After Sophie disappeared and I couldn't reach her. You thought something had happened? To her, Nathan finished, studying Rebecca's reaction carefully. Her surprise seemed genuine. Yes, Rebecca admitted. When she didn't contact me again and then the news about Sophie, I feared the worst. Nathan's certainty wavered slightly. If Rebecca had been involved in taking Sophie, wouldn't she have known where Jennifer was? Unless they had some falling out afterward. The DNA test will tell us what we need to know, he said finally. Until then, there's no point in further speculation. Rebecca nodded, then glanced back at her car, where Lily was visible through the window. I should get her to school. We've already missed the morning session. Of course, Nathan agreed. I'll wait for the clinic's call. As Rebecca and her attorney departed, Margaret turned to Nathan with a concerned expression. You're sure about this path? She asked. Once these results come in, there's no going back. I've spent 2 years searching for Sophie, Nathan replied. I need to know the truth, whatever it is. The next 24 hours were the longest of Nathan's life. He tried to focus on work, but his mind kept returning to the possibilities before him. If Lily was Sophie, how had it happened? Was Rebecca involved, or was she another victim in whatever scheme had separated him from his daughter? And most troublingly, what would be best for Sophie moving forward? Late that evening, his private investigator called again. Mr. Blackwood, we've completed the background check on Jennifer Hamilton Krause. There's something significant you should know. Before marrying you, she worked for a private adoption agency in California that was shut down for illegal practices, including arranging off-the-books adoptions. What are you saying? Nathan asked, though he was beginning to see where this was leading. We're saying there might be a connection between that agency and Catherine Reynolds, Rebecca Martinez. They were both in San Diego at the same time the agency was operating. So you think Rebecca was involved in illegal adoptions? With Jennifer? Nathan tried to make sense of this new information. It's a possibility we're exploring, Hayes confirmed. There's one more thing. We found hospital records for Catherine Reynolds giving birth in San Diego, but not to a girl named Lily. The birth certificate was for a boy named Michael, who died shortly after birth. Nathan sat heavily in his office chair. So Lily isn't her biological child? It appears not, sir, which opens up other possibilities regarding the child's true identity. After ending the call, Nathan paced his office, the pieces of the puzzle rearranging themselves in his mind. If Rebecca had been involved with an illegal adoption agency, if she had suffered the loss of her own child, could she have been part of a scheme to take Sophie? Or could she have been a victim herself, believing she had legally adopted a child? Who was actually stolen? The clinic called early the next morning, requesting that both parties come in for a consultation regarding the results. Nathan arrived first, his stomach knotted with tension. Rebecca arrived minutes later alone. Where's Lily? Nathan asked immediately. With my neighbor, Rebecca replied. I didn't want her here for this. They were shown into a private consultation, room where a doctor and a counselor waited with manila folders before them. Margaret and Rebecca's attorney joined them, completing the tense circle. Thank you all for coming, the doctor began. We have the results of the DNA tests performed yesterday. Before I share them, I want to remind everyone that these findings can have significant emotional impact, and our counselor is here to provide immediate support if needed. Nathan leaned forward, his hands gripping the arms of his chair. Just tell us the results. The doctor nodded, opening the first folder. Regarding the paternity test between Mr. Blackwood and the child Lily Martinez, our findings indicate that there is no biological relationship. Mr. Blackwood is not Lily's biological father. Nathan felt as though the air had been sucked from the room. Not her father, not Sophie. However, the doctor continued, opening the second folder, the maternal test between Ms. Martinez and Lily also indicates no biological relationship. Ms. Martinez is not Lily's biological mother. Rebecca's face drained of color. "That's impossible," she whispered. "I gave birth to her." "The DNA results are conclusive," the doctor said gently. "There is no genetic relationship between you and the child." Rebecca shook her head, visibly distraught. "No, there must be a mistake. Lily is my daughter. I remember giving birth to her." Given these unexpected results, the doctor continued carefully, we took the liberty of running Lily's DNA through our database of missing persons with the permission form you both signed. Nathan's head snapped up. "And?" "There was no match to Sophie Blackwood," the doctor confirmed. "However, we did find a match to another missing child, Emily Watson, who disappeared from a hospital in Portland, Oregon 6 years ago, 3 days after her birth." Silence fell over the room as this new information sank in. Lily was neither Sophie nor Rebecca's biological child, but another missing child entirely. "This can't be right," Rebecca insisted, her voice shaking. "I gave birth to Lily in San Diego. I remember it clearly." "Records indicate you gave birth to a son who did not survive," Margaret said quietly, revealing what the investigators had found. Rebecca stared at her in shock. "How do you know that?" "The question," Nathan interjected, "is how you ended up with a child who was kidnapped from Portland around the same time your son died." Rebecca's attorney intervened. "My client is clearly as shocked by these findings as everyone else. We need time to process this information before any accusations are made." "I agree," the counselor spoke for the first time. "This is traumatic news for both parties. I suggest we adjourn for now and reconvene when everyone has had time to consider the implications." Nathan barely heard them. His mind was racing with new questions. If Lily wasn't Sophie, but another kidnapped child, what did that mean for his search? And what was Rebecca's involvement, knowing or unknowing, in whatever had happened? They left the clinic in a daze, Rebecca visibly struggling to maintain her composure. In the parking lot, she turned to Nathan, her eyes filled with tears. "I don't understand," she said brokenly. "I remember giving birth to her. I remember holding her, nursing her. How can she not be mine?" Despite his own disappointment and confusion, Nathan felt a surge of sympathy. "Is it possible that in your grief over losing your son you accepted another child? Perhaps through Jennifer's connections? At the adoption agency?" Rebecca shook her head. "No, that's not. I would remember something like that." "Would you?" Nathan pressed gently. "If you were heavily medicated after childbirth, grieving a loss, and someone presented you with another baby, told you it was yours." Rebecca's eyes widened as the possibility sank in. "They wouldn't, but Jennifer worked at an adoption agency before." She trailed off, horror dawning on her face. "Oh my God, what if she arranged it? What if she knew people who could make it happen?" "It would explain how you genuinely believe you gave birth to Lily," Nathan suggested. "And it would explain her resemblance to Sophie, not because she is Sophie, but because they may have been deliberately searching for a child who looked like her." "But why?" Rebecca asked, bewildered. "Why would Jennifer do that?" "I don't know," Nathan admitted, "but I intend to find out." They agreed to meet later that day at Nathan's house to discuss next steps. As Rebecca drove away, Nathan called Hayes with new instructions. Find everything possible about Emily Watson, the missing child from Portland, and any connections between her disappearance and Jennifer Hamilton's former adoption agency. By the time Rebecca arrived at his house that evening, Nathan had assembled a timeline on a digital whiteboard in his home office. It showed the known events: Sophie's disappearance, Emily's kidnapping from the Portland hospital, Rebecca's son's birth and death, and Jennifer's movements throughout. Rebecca stared at the board, her face pale. "I still can't believe it," she murmured. All these years I never doubted she was mine. The mind is powerful, Nathan said, especially when influenced by trauma and suggestion. How do we tell her? Rebecca asked, the question that had been haunting them both. How do we tell Lily that I'm not her mother, that her name isn't even Lily? We don't, Nathan said firmly. Not yet. Not until we understand exactly what happened and who was responsible. Rebecca nodded gratefully. She's with my neighbor now. I told her I had meetings all day. She doesn't suspect anything. Good, Nathan approved. She deserves to be protected from this until we have answers. What have you found? Rebecca asked, gesturing to the timeline. Emily Watson was born to Karen and James Watson in Portland, Nathan explained. 3 days later, she vanished from the hospital nursery. Security cameras were disabled, and the nurse on duty was found unconscious. The case went cold after a few months. And you think Jennifer was involved? The adoption agency she worked for had a satellite office in Portland, Nathan confirmed, and one of her former colleagues was questioned in the Watson case, though never charged. Rebecca sank into a chair, overwhelmed. I can't process this. All these years I've loved her as my own. I have memories of giving birth to her. How is that possible? False memories can be implanted, especially during times of trauma, Nathan said. You lost your son, you were vulnerable. Jennifer or whoever was working with her took advantage of that. But why me? Rebecca pressed. Why involve me at all? Nathan hesitated, then voiced the theory that had been forming in his mind. What if it was never about you? What if it was about me? Rebecca frowned. I don't understand. Jennifer knew I was devastated by Sophie's disappearance, Nathan explained. What if this was all an elaborate scheme to ensure I'd eventually find Lily, a child who resembles Sophie, and believe she was my daughter? A cruel manipulation to either torment me or extract money. That's monstrous, Rebecca said, horrified. Jennifer was troubled, but I never thought she was capable of something so calculated. People can surprise you, Nathan said grimly, especially when money is involved. Rebecca stood suddenly. I need to see her. I need to see Lily, right now. Of course, Nathan understood immediately. The need to verify that the child was safe was still there, despite the shocking revelations about her identity. Will you come with me? Rebecca asked unexpectedly. I don't trust myself to be alone right now. My whole world has just collapsed. Nathan nodded. I'll drive. They rode in silence to Rebecca's modest apartment in Queen Anne. The neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Garcia, seemed surprised to see Nathan, but handed over a sleepy Lily without comment. It was past her usual bedtime. Mummy, Lily mumbled, wrapping her arms around Rebecca's neck as she was carried inside. I drew a picture of Comet at Mrs. Garcia's. That's wonderful, sweetheart, Rebecca managed, her voice tight with emotion. Let's get you to bed. Nathan waited awkwardly in the small living room while Rebecca put Lily to bed. He could hear her soft voice reading a bedtime story, so normal and loving that it was hard to reconcile with the day's shocking discoveries. When Rebecca returned, her eyes were red-rimmed but dry. She fell asleep halfway through the story, she reported, sinking onto the sofa. She has no idea that everything has changed. Nothing has to change for her, Nathan said quietly. Not right away. Not until we understand what happened. Rebecca looked at him gratefully. Thank you for saying that. I was afraid you'd, call the police, try to return her to her biological parents immediately. The Watsons deserve to know their daughter is alive and well, Nathan said carefully. But how and when that reunion happens needs to be handled with extreme sensitivity for Lily's sake. She knows you as her mother. That bond is real, regardless of biology. What about Sophie? Rebecca asked gently. If Lily isn't her, then my search continues, Nathan said firmly. But first, we need to understand what Jennifer was doing and why. Finding her is now the priority. Rebecca nodded. I want to help. Whatever Jennifer did, if she used me as part of some scheme involving stolen children, I need to know, and I need to make it right. We'll make it right together, Nathan promised. As they sat in Rebecca's small apartment, the sleeping child down the hall blissfully unaware of the turmoil surrounding her, Nathan felt a strange sense of clarity emerging from chaos. Lily wasn't Sophie, but finding the truth about Lily might lead him to Sophie. And regardless of biology, he had come to care deeply for the little girl with the strawberry blonde curls and her fierce, loyal mother. "What happens now?" Rebecca asked, her voice small in the quiet apartment. "Now," Nathan said, reaching for his phone, "we find Jennifer, and we get answers." As he dialed Hayes to set the next phase of the investigation in motion, Nathan knew they were on the verge of uncovering a truth more complex and far-reaching than either of them had imagined. Whatever came next, they would face it together, united by their love for a child who had brought them together through an extraordinary twist of fate. 3 weeks passed in a whirlwind of private investigators, international phone calls, and late-night strategy sessions. For Lily's sake, Nathan and Rebecca maintained a facade of normalcy, arranging playdates and dinners that gave the adults time to confer, while the child happily played with her unicorn collection, oblivious to the seismic shifts occurring in her world. Nathan had moved Rebecca and Lily into a secured guest house on his Mercer Island property, ostensibly as a favor, while Rebecca's apartment underwent renovations. In reality, it was a security measure. They didn't know how deep the conspiracy around Lily went, or who might still be watching them. They had agreed to keep the truth from Lily until they had answers. The child psychologists Nathan had consulted all emphasized the importance of stability and preparation before revealing such life-altering information to a 6-year-old. In the meantime, Nathan's investigators had been tracking Jennifer Hamilton Krause across Europe, finally confirming her presence at a private clinic outside Zurich. Nathan was booked on a flight the next morning, accompanied by both legal counsel and a Swiss private investigator who had been building a case file for the past week. On their last evening before Nathan's departure, he invited Rebecca and Lily to dinner at the main house. The spring weather had turned unusually warm, so they dined on the terrace overlooking the lake, watching the sunset paint the water in brilliant orange and gold. "Are you really going all the way to Swissland tomorrow?" Lily asked carefully, cutting her grilled cheese sandwich into precise triangles, a ritual Nathan had noticed she performed with every meal. "Switzerland," Rebecca gently corrected. "And yes, Mr. Nathan has to go on a business trip." "Will you bring me back chocolate?" Lily asked hopefully. "Mrs. Garcia says Swissland has the best chocolate in the whole wide world." "I wouldn't dream of returning without chocolate," Nathan assured her solemnly. "What kind do you prefer? Dark, milk, white?" Lily considered this with the gravity of a Supreme Court justice. "One of each," she finally decided. "That way I can conduct a proper science experiment about which is best." "Very scientific," Nathan nodded approvingly. "I'll make sure to bring sufficient samples for your research." Rebecca watched their interaction with a soft smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Over the past weeks, as they'd worked together to unravel the mystery surrounding Lily, Nathan had come to recognize the signs of her hidden distress, the slight tension around her mouth, the occasional distant look as she observed Lily, as if trying to memorize every detail of the child she had raised as her. After dinner, Rebecca took Lily back to the guest house to prepare for bed, with Nathan promising to come over later to discuss final details for his trip. Alone on the terrace, he found himself reflecting on the extraordinary turn his life had taken. The search for Sophie continued. His investigators were pursuing several new leads that had emerged during their investigation into Jennifer's activities. But alongside that ongoing mission, Nathan had found himself increasingly invested in Lily's future and in supporting Rebecca through the devastating revelation that the child she had loved as her daughter was not biologically hers. The doorbell rang, pulling him from his thoughts. Nathan frowned. He wasn't expecting anyone, and the property's security was tight. His housekeeper appeared on the terrace. "Mr. Blackwood, there's a Mr. and Mrs. Watson here to see you. They say they have an appointment?" Nathan stood abruptly. "No, there must be a mistake. I didn't—" But before he could finish, a couple appeared behind the housekeeper. A tall man with sandy hair and a petite blonde woman whose anxious expression couldn't disguise her remarkable resemblance to Lily. Mr. Blackwood, the man said, stepping forward with his hand extended. James Watson. This is my wife, Karen. I apologize for arriving unannounced, but when your investigator contacted us about Emily, his voice broke slightly. Nathan recovered quickly from his surprise. Of course, Mr. and Mrs. Watson. Please, come in. Maria, could you bring some refreshments to the living room? As the housekeeper departed, Nathan led the Watsons to his spacious living room with its panoramic lake view, now darkening as night fell. His mind raced. Hayes had been instructed to make preliminary contact with the Watsons, but not to arrange a meeting yet, not until they had a carefully structured plan for how to proceed with Lily. I understand this is unexpected, James Watson said, as they settled onto the sofas. But after your investigator told us that Emily might be alive, that you might know where she is, we couldn't wait. We've been searching for 6 years. I understand completely, Nathan said, his voice gentle. He did understand. The desperate hope, the need for answers. But I want to be clear. This situation is extremely delicate. The child in question believes she is someone else. She has no memory of her life before. Karen Watson nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. Your investigator explained. He said she was raised by a woman who thought she was her biological daughter, that there was some kind of swap at the hospital. That appears to be the case, Nathan confirmed. Ms. Martinez, the woman who raised her, was told her newborn son had died. In her grief and post-delivery state, she was somehow convinced that Emily was her child. We believe this was orchestrated by a woman named Jennifer Hamilton, who had connections to an illegal adoption network. We remember the investigators mentioning someone from an adoption agency during the original investigation, James said, his arm around his wife's shoulders. But they never found enough evidence to charge anyone. Jennifer has been living in Switzerland for the past 2 years, Nathan explained. I'm flying there tomorrow to confront her and hopefully get answers about what happened, both to Emily and to my own daughter, Sophie, who disappeared 2 years ago. Your daughter is missing too? Karen asked, her expression softening with empathy. Nathan nodded. Yes, that's actually how this all came to light. Ms. Martinez works for a foundation I established to help find missing children. Her daughter, your Emily, who she knows as Lily, bears a striking resemblance to Sophie. That resemblance led to DNA testing which revealed the truth. Can we see her? Karen asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Even from a distance, just to know she's real, that she's okay. Nathan hesitated. I understand your desire to see your daughter, but I'm concerned about how Ms. Martinez will react to your unexpected arrival. She's still processing the fact that the child she's raised and loved for 6 years is not biologically hers. This needs to be handled carefully for everyone's emotional well-being. We don't want to traumatize anyone, James assured him. We've waited 6 years. We can wait a little longer to do this right, but please understand, every day without our daughter has been agony. Before Nathan could respond, the doorbell rang again. This time, it was Rebecca, looking concerned. I saw lights coming up the drive, she explained, as Nathan met her in the foyer. Is everything okay? I thought we were meeting later to go over the Switzerland plans. Nathan took her hands in his. Rebecca, something unexpected has happened. The Watsons are here, Emily's biological parents. Rebecca paled visibly, one hand flying to her mouth. Here, now. But we agreed. We were going to develop a transition plan first, with child psychologists involved. I know, Nathan said soothingly. They came on their own after being contacted by my investigator. They understand the sensitivity of the situation. They've just asked to see her, even from a distance. Lily is asleep, Rebecca said automatically, then corrected herself with visible effort. Emily, I mean. She's asleep in the guest house. Mrs. Garcia is staying with her. You don't have to do this tonight, Nathan assured her. But I think meeting the Watsons might help you. They're not here to take her away immediately. They want what's best for her, too. Rebecca took a deep breath, visibly steadying herself. Okay. I should meet them. I want to meet them. Nathan led her into the living room, making the introductions with care. There was a moment of palpable tension as Rebecca faced the biological parents of the child she had raised, but it was quickly diffused by Karen Watson. "Thank you," the blonde woman said simply, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for loving her when we couldn't, for keeping her safe." Rebecca's own eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I swear I never knew she wasn't mine." "We believe you," James said firmly. "Our anger is reserved for the people who orchestrated this, not for the woman who gave our daughter a loving home." The ice broken. They sat together for hours, the Watsons sharing stories and photos of Emily's first 3 days of life, Rebecca reciprocating with tales of Lily's childhood milestones and photographs from her phone. Nathan watched the unlikely bond forming between these strangers, united by love for the same child, marveling at their capacity for grace in an impossible situation. Eventually, they turned to the practical matters at hand. How to proceed with introducing the Watsons to Emily, how to help the child understand her true identity, and how to transition to whatever new family arrangement they would create. "We don't want to rip her away from the only mother she's ever known," Karen assured Rebecca. "That would be traumatic for everyone, especially Emily." "Lily," Rebecca corrected gently. "She knows herself as Lily. It's who she is right now." Karen nodded, acknowledging the correction. "Lily, then. For now. We want what's best for her. We're willing to take this as slowly as necessary. The child psychologists I've consulted recommend a gradual introduction," Nathan offered. "The Watsons could be introduced as family friends, initially spending time with Lily in comfortable, familiar settings. As she develops a relationship with them, the truth can be shared in age-appropriate ways." "That sounds sensible," James agreed. "We've waited 6 years. We can be patient a little longer to make sure she's okay with everything." By the time the Watsons left, well after midnight, the 4 adults had developed the outline of a plan. The Watsons would relocate temporarily to Seattle, renting a house nearby. They would be introduced to Lily as friends of Nathan's, allowing natural relationship building to occur before any revelations about her identity. Rebecca walked them to the door, exchanging contact information and tentative hugs. After they departed, she returned to the living room and sank onto the sofa beside Nathan, emotionally exhausted. "They're good people," she said quietly. "Yes," Nathan agreed. "They seem to be. They look like her, especially Karen. Lily has her eyes, her smile," Rebecca's voice caught. "Seeing them together will make it obvious to everyone that they're related." "Biology is only one aspect of parenthood," Nathan reminded her gently. "You're her mother in all the ways that matter to Lily. That won't change, even as she builds relationships with the Watsons." Rebecca leaned against his shoulder, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability. "I'm scared, Nathan. Scared of losing her. Scared of what Jennifer will tell you in Switzerland. Scared of what all this means for my future. Our future." Nathan put his arm around her, drawing her closer. Over the past weeks, their relationship had evolved from suspicion to partnership to something deeper, forged in the crucible of shared crisis. "Whatever Jennifer reveals, whatever happens next, we'll face it together," he promised. "You won't lose Lily and you won't be alone." The next morning dawned clear and bright. Nathan's private jet was scheduled to depart at noon, giving him time for one last strategy session with Rebecca and a special breakfast with Lily, who was excited about his adventure to Swissland. "Remember to take pictures of mountains and cows with bells," she instructed seriously as they shared pancakes on the terrace of the guest house, "and chocolate factories, especially chocolate factories." "I'll document everything thoroughly," Nathan promised. "Scientific observation is important." After breakfast, while Lily was distracted with a new puzzle Nathan had brought her, he and Rebecca went over the final details of his trip. "The meeting with Jennifer is scheduled for tomorrow morning at her husband's private office," Nathan explained. "The Swiss investigators have built a compelling case, and her husband's bank is already distancing itself from whatever fallout may come. She'll talk." What if she denies everything? Rebecca worried. What if she claims I was complicit somehow? We have evidence, Rebecca, Nathan reminded her. The DNA tests, the timeline, the connections to the illegal adoption network, and your genuine shock and grief over discovering Lily isn't biologically yours can't be faked. No one who sees you with her would doubt your love or your innocence in whatever scheme Jennifer orchestrated. Rebecca nodded, not entirely convinced. Just be careful. Jennifer can be manipulative, and if she was involved in taking both Emily and Sophie, she's clearly dangerous. I'll have security with me the entire time, Nathan assured her, and Margaret is accompanying me to handle the legal aspects. Their conversation was interrupted by Nathan's phone. Hayes, with a final update before the trip. Mr. Blackwood, we've completed the background check on Jennifer Hamilton's second husband, the one before Thomas Kraus. His name was Robert Sellers, and he has a record of domestic violence that Jennifer didn't disclose during your initial investigation into Sophie's disappearance. That matches what Rebecca told me, Nathan said, catching her eye, that Jennifer was afraid of her husband. There's more, sir, Hayes continued. Sellers was investigated in connection with a child trafficking ring operating out of Southern California 6 years ago. Charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence, but his name appears in several case files. So Jennifer's story about fearing for Sophie's safety might have been true, Nathan mused. But instead of taking Sophie to a safe house as planned, something else happened. We're still working on those connections, sir, but I thought you should have this information before meeting with Mrs. Hamilton Kraus. After ending the call, Nathan shared the update with Rebecca. I told you Jennifer was afraid of her husband, Rebecca said, a note of vindication in her voice. But that still doesn't explain what happened to Sophie or how Emily ended up with me. No, Nathan agreed. But it adds credibility to the idea that Jennifer might have been operating under duress, at least initially. Perhaps she was trying to protect Sophie from her abusive husband, and things spiraled from there. It doesn't excuse taking someone else's child, Rebecca pointed out, or letting you believe Sophie was missing all this time. No, Nathan agreed grimly. Nothing excuses that. The time for departure came too quickly. Lily insisted on a proper send-off, presenting Nathan with a hand-drawn card featuring a unicorn eating chocolate in front of a triangular mountain, presumably the Matterhorn. So you don't get lonely, she explained as he admired her artwork. I'll treasure it, he promised, carefully tucking the card into his jacket pocket. Rebecca's goodbye was more restrained, conscious of Lily watching. Be safe, she said simply, squeezing his hand. Come back with answers. The flight to Zurich passed in a blur of preparation and strategy sessions with Margaret. By the time they landed, Nathan had rehearsed every possible scenario for his confrontation with Jennifer. The meeting was set for 9 a.m. at the private offices of Kraus International Banking. Thomas Kraus, Jennifer's husband, had arranged the space but would not be present, a deliberate choice to ensure Jennifer spoke freely. Nathan arrived early, accompanied by Margaret and Felix Berger, the Swiss private investigator who had been building the local case. The office was minimalist and elegant, with views of Zurich's old town and the distant Alps. At precisely 9 a.m. the door opened, and Jennifer Hamilton Kraus entered. She looked older than Nathan remembered, her once vibrant blonde hair now a more subdued honey shade, her face lined with stress despite her obvious wealth, evidenced by her designer clothing and flawless makeup. She faltered momentarily when she saw Nathan, then straightened her shoulders and advanced with an extended hand. Nathan, it's been a long time. Nathan ignored the outstretched hand. Where is Sophie? He asked without preamble. Jennifer's composure cracked slightly. She withdrew her hand and sank into one of the chairs. I was afraid you'd found her, she said quietly. When your investigator contacted me, I thought, but you don't know, do you? You're still looking. I'm still looking, Nathan confirmed, taking the seat across from her. And I've found some interesting things along the way, like Emily Watson, the baby who was kidnapped from a Portland hospital and somehow ended up with Rebecca Martinez, who believed she was her biological daughter, a child who bears a striking resemblance to Sophie. Jennifer paled visibly. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do, Nathan countered. I think you know exactly what happened to both Emily Watson and Sophie. And I think it's time you told the truth. For a moment, Jennifer seemed ready to continue her denials. Then something in her seemed to collapse. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. None of it. It was all Robert's idea. Robert Sellers, your second husband, Nathan clarified. The one with connections to child trafficking. Jennifer looked up sharply. You've been thorough. When it comes to finding my daughter, yes. Jennifer sighed deeply. Robert was controlling, abusive. After we married, I discovered he was involved in some very dark things, including an illegal adoption network that sometimes procured children through questionable means. When I threatened to leave him to go to the police, he threatened Sophie. So the message you sent Rebecca, Catherine, about taking Sophie to a safe place was genuine, Jennifer confirmed. I was terrified for Sophie. I knew what Robert was capable of. I arranged to meet Catherine, Rebecca, to give her Sophie temporarily while I went into hiding. But that's not what happened, Nathan said flatly. Jennifer shook her head, tears forming. No, Robert found out. He intercepted me before I could get Sophie to Rebecca. He took Sophie, said he would take care of everything. I was frantic, but he threatened to hurt her if I didn't cooperate. What did he do with her? Nathan demanded, his heart pounding. He placed her with a family in his network, Jennifer said, her voice barely above a whisper. A wealthy couple in Europe who had paid a fortune for a child with Sophie's exact specifications. Blonde hair, blue eyes, intelligent, well-bred. Nathan felt physically ill. You let him sell our daughter? I had no choice, Jennifer insisted, tears now flowing freely. He said if I cooperated, she would be safe, well cared for. If I didn't, he would hurt her. I believed him. I'd seen what he was capable of. And Emily Watson? How does she fit into this? Jennifer wiped at her tears with a manicured hand. Robert's operation had taken her from the Portland hospital, another child destined for the European market. But there was a problem with the buyers, and they needed somewhere to place her temporarily. Robert knew about Catherine's situation, that she had just lost her newborn son. He saw an opportunity. He gave Emily to Rebecca and convinced her it was her own child, Nathan finished, the pieces finally falling into place, and chose her specifically because the child resembled Sophie, knowing that eventually the resemblance might lead me to Rebecca. Yes, Jennifer admitted. He thought it was poetic, I suppose, a cruel joke. The child who looked like Sophie but wasn't her, placed with the woman who was supposed to protect Sophie but never got the chance. And you went along with this? Nathan said, disgust evident in his voice. I was trapped, Jennifer insisted. Robert threatened to hurt Sophie if I didn't play along. Once Emily was placed with Catherine and the deception was complete, he used it as insurance. If I ever went to the police, he'd reveal that I was complicit in giving a kidnapped child to Catherine. Where is Sophie now? Nathan demanded, leaning forward intently. And don't tell me you don't know. Jennifer hesitated, then reached for her handbag. She removed a small notebook and slid it across the table. Everything I know is in here. The family's name, their last known location in Austria, the intermediaries Robert used. After he was arrested on unrelated charges 3 years ago, I started gathering information, trying to find a way to make this right without going to prison myself. Nathan took the notebook with trembling hands. Why now? Why are you finally telling the truth? Jennifer looked away. Because I'm dying, Nathan. Cancer. 6 months, maybe less. I don't want to die with this on my conscience. Margaret, who had been silently taking notes throughout the conversation, spoke for the first time. Mrs. Hamilton Krauss, you understand that this confession implicates you in multiple federal crimes, including child trafficking and kidnapping across state lines. I understand, Jennifer said quietly. I'll cooperate fully, make a formal statement. Whatever you need. I just want Sophie to be found before it's too late. Nathan was already flipping through the notebook, his heart racing as he scanned the details of his daughter's fate. An Austrian banking family named Richter, a mountain estate near Innsbruck. Sophie's name changed to Sophia. If she's been with these people for 2 years, she may not remember me, he said, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. She was only 4 when she disappeared. She'll remember, Jennifer said softly. Sophie was always remarkably bright, with an exceptional memory. And from what my sources tell me, the Richters have been kind to her. They believe they adopted her legally. Nathan stood abruptly. We're done here. The authorities will want your official statement. He turned to Felix Berger. How quickly? Can we get to Innsbruck? I can have a helicopter ready within the hour, the Swiss investigator replied. But Mr. Blackwood, we should coordinate with Austrian authorities before approaching the Richter family. They are powerful, connected, people who believe they are the legal parents of this child. Nathan nodded, acknowledging the wisdom of the advice despite his burning desire to rush to Sophie immediately. Make the arrangements. I want to be in Innsbruck by nightfall. The next 12 hours passed in a blur of diplomatic negotiations, legal maneuvers, and international coordination. By the time Nathan's helicopter touched down at a private airfield outside Innsbruck, Austrian authorities had already made contact with the Richter family. Contrary to everyone's fears, Josef and Helene Richter had responded to the revelation with shock and grief, but also with dignity. When presented with evidence that the child they knew as Sophia had been illegally obtained, they had agreed to cooperate fully with authorities, asking only for sensitivity in how the situation was handled for the child's sake. It was arranged that Nathan would meet Sophie at the Richter's estate the following morning, with child psychologists present to support the reunion. That night, in a luxury hotel in Innsbruck, Nathan barely slept, his mind racing with hopes and fears about the coming day. He called Rebecca, sharing the extraordinary developments. You found her. Rebecca's voice was filled with wonder and joy for him, despite her own complicated emotions. Nathan, that's miraculous. It doesn't feel real yet, he admitted, after 2 years of searching, to know she's just a few miles away. How are you feeling about meeting her tomorrow? Terrified, Nathan admitted. What if she doesn't remember me? What if she's bonded with these people and sees me as a threat to her security? What if seeing me traumatizes her? Children are resilient, Rebecca reminded him gently. And the psychologist will be there to help. Just be patient. Give her time. How are things there? Nathan asked, eager for a momentary distraction from his anxiety. How's Lily? She's good, Rebecca replied. The Watsons came over today, as friends as we planned. Lily was shy at first, but warmed up when Karen admired her unicorn collection. They're lovely people, Nathan. The way they're handling this with such patience and grace. Like you, Nathan said softly, you've shown extraordinary grace through all of this. I'm trying, Rebecca admitted. For Lily's sake, the child psychologist you arranged for us to consult with has been incredibly helpful. We are developing a plan for gradually introducing the truth to Lily, in ways she can understand and process. They talked for another hour, finding comfort in each other's voices across the distance. When they finally said goodnight, Nathan felt calmer, more centered for the emotional day ahead. Morning arrived with perfect alpine clarity, the mountains sharp against a brilliant blue sky. Nathan dressed carefully in casual clothes, a soft sweater and jeans rather than his usual business attire, wanting to appear approachable to his daughter. The Richter estate was a modern chalet-style mansion set on a hillside with panoramic mountain views. Nathan was greeted by a distinguished older couple, Joseph and Helene Richter, whose grief was evident in their eyes, but whose composure remained intact. Mr. Blackwood, Joseph greeted him with a formal handshake. We cannot express our shock and sorrow at learning the truth about Sophia. Sophie, please know that had we any suspicion about the circumstances of her adoption, we would never have participated. The agency provided documents, birth certificates, court orders. Everything appeared legitimate, Helene added, her accent more pronounced than her husband's. We believed we were giving a home to a child whose mother could not care for her. I understand, Nathan said, and surprisingly, he did. These people had been deceived too, had loved and cared for his daughter, believing she was legally theirs. Thank you for taking care of her. A child psychologist named Dr. Muller explained how the reunion would proceed. Sophie had been told, in age-appropriate terms, that her father had been searching for her for a very long time and had finally found her. She understood that a mistake had been made, that the Richters had not known she had a father looking for her. She has questions. Naturally, Dr. Muller explained, but she's a remarkably resilient and intelligent child. We've emphasized that everyone involved cares about her well-being. Nathan nodded, his throat tight with emotion. Where is she? In the garden, Helene said softly. She's waiting for you. She's nervous but curious too. Nathan followed them through the house to a back terrace overlooking a beautiful garden. And there, sitting on a bench beneath an apple tree, was Sophie. His breath caught. She was taller than he remembered, her strawberry blonde hair longer, falling in waves past her shoulders. But her face, that beloved face that had haunted his dreams for 2 years, was unmistakably Sophie's. She looked up as they approached, her blue eyes widening. She said something quietly to the woman sitting beside her, another psychologist, and stood smoothing her blue dress nervously. Nathan stopped a few feet away, not wanting to overwhelm her. Hello, Sophie, he said, his voice barely steady. Sophie tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that was achingly familiar. You're my real dad, she said finally, not a question, but a statement. Yes, Nathan confirmed. I've been looking for you for a very long time. I remember you, Sophie said, her voice small but clear. You used to read me stories about butterflies, and we had a boat named Sophronia. A sob escaped Nathan before he could stop it. Yes. Yes, we did. You named her after a character in your favorite book. Sophie took a tentative step forward. They told me you didn't know where I was, that you've been looking for me this whole time. Every day, Nathan confirmed. I never stopped looking for you, Sophie, not for a single day. Another step closer. I thought maybe you didn't want me anymore. Never, Nathan said fiercely. You are the most important person in my life, Sophie. Always. Something in his voice or expression must have convinced her, because suddenly Sophie was running toward him, closing the distance between them. Nathan dropped to one knee, opening his arms just in time as she crashed into him, her small arms wrapping around his neck. Daddy, she whispered, and Nathan's world, broken for so long, finally began to heal. The reunion was just the beginning. There were complex legal issues to navigate, psychological support to arrange for Sophie, and careful transitions to plan. The Richters, to their credit, prioritized Sophie's well-being above all else, agreeing to a gradual transition that would allow her to adjust to the enormous changes in her life. A week later, Nathan and Sophie returned to Seattle. Rebecca and Lily were waiting at the airport, part of the support system Nathan had carefully arranged for Sophie's return. Sophie, this is my friend Rebecca, and her daughter Lily, Nathan introduced them carefully. Sophie studied Lily with undisguised curiosity. She looks like me, she observed. Yes, Nathan agreed simply. It's a coincidence that led to us finding you. The two girls regarded each other warily at first, then with growing interest as they discovered shared passions for unicorns, butterflies, and chocolate. Over the following months, their unusual family constellation continued to evolve. The Watsons relocated permanently to Seattle, buying a house not far from Nathan's. Lily was gradually introduced to the truth about her identity, with professional support every step of the way. To everyone's surprise, Lily adapted to the revelation with remarkable resilience. So I have 2 mommies and a daddy now, she had asked when the truth was finally carefully shared. And Sophie is my friend, not my sister. That's right, Rebecca had confirmed, tears in her eyes. James and Karen are your biological parents. They created you. But I'm still your mummy too because I've loved you and raised you. Okay, Lily had nodded, processing this information. Can I still keep my unicorns in your house and their house? The adults had laughed through their tears, amazed at the child's adaptability. 1 year after Sophie's return, Nathan hosted a celebration at his Mercer Island home. The extended family they had created gathered on the terrace, Sophie, now 8 and thriving in her therapy-supported adjustment. Lily, also 8 and happily dividing her time between the Watsons' home and Rebecca's new house on Mercer Island. Rebecca, who had found a new purpose directing an expanded Butterfly Foundation with programs specifically designed to support children recovering from abduction. The Watsons, who had gracefully embraced the unusual co-parenting arrangement with Dee, Rebecca, and even the Richters, who had maintained a relationship with Sophie as beloved honorary grandparents. As Nathan looked around at this unlikely family, united by extraordinary circumstances and bound together by love for two remarkable little girls, he felt a sense of peace he had once thought impossible. Rebecca joined him at the railing, watching Sophie and Lily playing an elaborate game with their unicorn collection on the lawn below. "Did you ever imagine we'd end up here?" she asked, slipping her hand into his. Their relationship had deepened over the past year, growing from crisis-forged alliance to genuine partnership. "Never," Nathan admitted, squeezing her hand. "But I wouldn't change it, not even the painful parts." "Because they led us here," Rebecca nodded in understanding. "Exactly," Nathan agreed, watching as Sophie showed Lily how to make the perfect daisy chain. "They led us home." In the fading light of the summer evening, surrounded by the family they had created from pain and loss and extraordinary coincidence, Nathan and Rebecca shared a quiet smile, two people who had journeyed through darkness and emerged together into light. Film de Historia. Dear listeners, we hope that Nathan and Rebecca's journey has touched your heart. The extraordinary coincidences that brought them together remind us that sometimes life's most beautiful connections emerge from our deepest challenges. For more emotionally captivating stories like this one, we've prepared a special playlist of narratives that explore the complexity of family bonds, unexpected connections, and the healing power of love. Find it by clicking the link to your left. If this story moved you, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Every day we bring you unique stories that explore the depth and beauty of human experience. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear which moments in Nathan and Rebecca's journey resonated most with you. Thank you for joining us on this emotional adventure, and we look forward to sharing more stories with you soon.